Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee budget hearings to order. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Powell. Here. Commissioner Smith-Charles is absent with notice. Commissioner Erickson-Galt. Here. Commissioner Spiz is absent with notice. Commissioner Long.
Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Here.
Commissioner Markham.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Commissioner Gershenson, thank you.
Keep missing her over there, sorry.
So we currently have a quorum, but a couple of our members also have a Parks Commission meeting this afternoon that they are voting members on. Since we're not voting today, it's just a informational session from 4 departments. It won't hurt us in terms of can we continue if those members leave. We just won't vote on anything. We can't vote without a quorum, but these are not voting meetings anyway. So I just wanted to make that note so people know that when a couple of commissioners get up to leave, it's because they have to go do more county business this afternoon. So we're all busy. Okay, so with that, let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we have 4 different budget presentations today. Our first one is going to be emergency management and homeland security. So if you folks would come forward, you're going to be at the podium here. You'll have your back to us, but that's okay. We're talking to the crowd and to the other commissioners. So don't be put off by that.
All right, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. We appreciate, again, giving us some time to talk to you about our budget and some of our goals and what we're looking to achieve this year. So myself, I'm Tom Hardesty, the Director of Emergency Management Homeland Security. I have with me today Mike Crum, who's the manager over the Safety Division, Angie Jans, who's our fiscal person, Rob Seeley, who you sometimes see as a manager of emergency management. He's out of town this week, so we miss him today. Last year I was out with COVID, so my turn to be here this year. So this is our 5th year as a department. You will notice as we go through our budget, it looks significantly different, because while it's our 5th year having the Safety Division as part of under our management structure, it's the first year that the budget for safety is in a department budget with us. And then the other change you will see is behavioral threat assessment and management. That team that we've had for the last few years, those costs were in risk management's budget. But since that has been run and organized through our department, those have also been moved into our budget. So it does look significantly different this year. So we'll get into that and show some of those details. One of the things you notice right off the bat, revenues versus actuals, especially looking at prior ones when we're talking about emergency management only. I would love to be perfectly accurate with our budget every year. It means we had good planning. It means we had a good plan and we spent it right. One of the challenges with us always is disasters and emergencies. Those things happen every year. Many times we will get expenses that come in from a disaster or emergency, and we may not see those refunds for a year or 2 or 3. In 2024, where it shows a significant amount of revenue, we were still getting money back from COVID. And then you'll see, like this year, we have a community that's requested a siren to go in. So by board action a number of years ago, communities pay 75% of that. We pay 25%. So when they have a siren put in, we'll pay for the siren to be put in, then they'll reimburse us the money. So then you'll see revenues. And they don't always plan those years in advance. Sometimes we get a short notice on those. So our revenues and expenditures sometimes will be inconsistent, in particular when it comes to emergencies and disasters. This year, for example, Great Lakes Water Authority, that one from the water main break. We had a board meeting this morning asking for grant approval for $51,000 in reimbursement That was not budgeted for last year. Those are expenses we had and recovery we'll get from an emergency that was unplanned, but we are prepared to handle. This is just another look at the revenues from a different way, showing it again where you see grants are a part of our operation besides emergencies and disasters that are considered grants. We also fund a lot of equipment and training for first responders in the county. Hazardous materials equipment, trucks, hazmat response, as well as active shooter training is funded through grants. Those have been somewhat inconsistent, although the main part of those for the Homeland Security grants are continuing. Some of our hazard mitigation and planning grants, it does look like maybe going by the wayside. So here, when you see our projected expenditures for next year, obviously a significant increase, going from $3 million to over $8 million. So that is very much heavily focused with Safety Division coming in and being part of this budget. I'll cover a few of the things on the emergency management side. Not a lot of significant new projects there this year. We have a little more on the safety side this year that Mike will cover. So for emergency management side, one of the things that we do have in our budget request is for software for registration and training, not for employees, but for outside. A big thing that our office does is incident command and different types of training for outside agencies, police, fire, EMS, hospitals. And right now, we simply put together Excel spreadsheets, emails to try to register people and track that. So by having a software system where we can register people, track training, try to keep the people elevated on the training that they have for emergencies and disasters within the county, and we'll be able to better to track that with the software. The other thing, software in there is behavioral threat assessment and management. We have 2 people on a grant that help us with this behavioral threat assessment, which is trying to intercede in a situation before it turns to a crime. Oxford is the one example that many people remember about people giving off signs and trying to intercede and get them help before they get to a problem. So we've been doing that as part of a workplace safety program for several years. And then we partner with OCHN and try to assist schools and other entities with making sure that they have a good behavioral threat assessment program. But a lot of things come over the internet, people posting things, concerns. So one of our requests is for software to help gather and look at that data, which details a little bit, that'll be a little more in safety with that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mike Crum, who is the Safety Division Manager.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. So the largest increase we do see here is from safety being transferred from facilities over to emergency management, Homeland Security. When we look at the breakdown, there's no new personnel being added to our team. It's just that transfer over. So it does look significant, but those were previously in the facilities budget. For ours, the Safety Division, our security team handles the access control, the security cameras, gates, the physical security for Oakland County. And many of the expenses that we see here help us to keep our community safe with those access control cameras and the alarm projects. We don't have any large capital programs in here. Ours are in a different way that we fund those through the CIP or through other sources. So you won't see those really in our operating budget that we have here today. We do have one software increase for the guard tracking. It's TrackTick, it's called. And that is replacing an older software that just no longer could be supported by our current systems. And as we add that, we're looking to be able to add in the AED inspections and other things into that software that we currently don't have any platform for right now. We good? Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Tom.
As again, the camera system and software reaches end of life. And that's been in conjunction with the new project with Downtown Pontiac and the Judson building as well. So as we're selecting systems for the new building, they'll match with new systems that will come here afterward and all integrate together, have a more secure, a more accessible and a safer network for the county. So those are some of the big projects, and as Mike said, you don't see those in here. They'll be, part of it will be in the Judgment project for things that are there. Other things will be in the bond project for updating the systems, and then we're still working through some CIPs, for example, with the alarms. So we need to be off plain old telephone lines, copper telephone lines by October. I think right now, Rod might correct me if I'm wrong, we pay about $60 a month for a phone line. There'll be about $1,700 a month per phone line come October. AT&T does not want us to use copper telephone lines anymore. So their way to push that is by funding it. So they've been working with IT, with facilities, again, to get off those lines, have an updated alarm system that will be done here later this fall. Mike mentioned personnel. One part-time opening at the time this was done. We're fortunate to not have a lot of turnover. We have none in emergency management. We have a solid, experienced staff. Mike has a solid, experienced staff. I know one of the questions I saw yesterday was about continuity planning. You know, how are you planning for replacements in the future? One of the things, specialty positions, not just leadership, a locksmith. So locksmith is a very technical job that requires a lot of training and experience, but we only have one, so it's not like you have a big lot to choose from. Mike knew he had somebody retiring in July of this year, worked with HR and fiscal last year to integrate another employee who had an interest in that, spent some part-time in it, then spent several months full-time with the current locksmith. So now, when he retired at the end of July, we're able to move right into that seamlessly without having any problems here at the county in dealing with locks. And then we continue to provide leadership training to Mike, to people at all levels of the organization. So if for whatever reason we have an opening, we have quite a pool of people actually that we would be able to choose from to fill positions after that. The sheet shows grant revenue. It is a smaller portion. Like we said, it's usually bad for us if you see that number really big, because that means we've had large disasters, and then we're spending a lot of money and turning around and getting a lot of reimbursement money for that. So while we seek grants as much as we can, the disaster grants we hope to not have to use. Unfortunately, we are losing BRIC grant, which is Building Resilient Infrastructure in Communities. The current administration eliminated that grant. That's part of what we used in the past to do some of our hazard mitigation projects in the county, trying to reduce the chances of, or the impacts of disasters in the county. We were also seeking for some of those funds to update an EOC, but unfortunately the federal government has chose to discontinue those projects. Emergency Management Performance Grant is another one that has gone down. That's money that the federal government gives to the state, and then the state passes on to us to help maintain an emergency management program. Unfortunately, the state funds their entire program. They don't fund any positions out of their general fund. So the state keeps about 80% of the emergency management grant and then separates that 20% amongst all the counties in the state. So it leaves a pretty limited amount of money. We get about $17,000 a year. We're required to have an emergency manager in a program, but we don't get a lot of funding for that. Finally, strategic planning. Both Mike, Rob, and I all came from prior places where goals certainly drove the budget. So this has been ingrained in all of us in our careers. We've worked with Henry and worked with the executive staff to continue to make sure that we have good, clear goals. We are in phase 5, really ready to start looking at phase 6 in our goals. I've been working with the new system, which has been really beneficial and helpful to use to look at that, starting to work with them on what dashboards would look like. So making sure that we do have, again, clear goals, that we're using the funds that you graciously provide us to make sure that we achieve the things that we say we're going to achieve. And that is it. With that, Chair, we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hardesty. Does any of the commissioners have any questions for this group? Commissioner Gershenson, followed by Commissioner Erickson-Dahl.
Thank you for coming. Always interesting. You started by saying, are you separate? Has there been a change with risk management and the structure?
No, so the behavioral threat assessment and management costs for that, that's a multidisciplinary team. We have reps from corp counsel, HR, safety, sheriff's office. So the costs for training and related to that were in the risk management budget, even though we put together and drove the team, and they moved that this year into our budget. So you'll see an increase in our budget, but my understanding is it's offset in risk management's budget.
Commissioner Erickson Galt.
Yes, thank you. So I was looking at, you noted that your budget went up significantly because you've incorporated safety into that, but it doesn't look like you have a change in the number of headcount in personnel. Am I missing something?
Yeah, there should be, I believe it's 31 or 32 out of safety. So our total should be up in the mid-40s now.
Okay, because well, maybe it's because what I'm looking at is reflected, this happened this past year. This is not something that's going to happen. This has already occurred.
This is for the budget, this is the first time, so it's just happening now.
Because it just looks like if you have the same 40-some people as last year.
I'm not sure how they
Commissioner,
may have reported that number one way and for what we are realistically managing. So we've managed those number of people. It's just the finances were in a different budget. So it looks like Brent.
Yes, that is 100% correct. The reason why you're seeing that number stay static at 46 is that 46 is the total that is in the EM and HS department. The changing here is the funding source. So previously, Safety Division, pardon me, was part of another fund. They now are part of the general fund. So now they have full control over their own budget. They have full control over all of their own expenses. They're no longer having to kind of negotiate their budgetary use with another department that doesn't have anything to do with what they're doing. So that's why you're not going to see that difference in those counts.
But there's no new positions added or deleted.
Thank you.
Commissioner Gershenson.
I just thought of one more question, because you mentioned you have cameras all over campus, and you know this is a big issue for the
Yes.
Board of Commissioners. So,
Can you bring your mic?
I'm sorry.
Close.
So, I was asking about the multiple cameras that are on campus, and do we manage them ourselves? Is that a company? And if it's a company, I'm not sure I want to hear the name.
I think I can answer that.
Okay,
It's a closed camera system managed by building safety staff. It's not accessible to me, frankly, without asking someone to pull data. It is not accessible to anyone outside. We don't maintain any license plate reader cameras of any sort from any company, and no company has access to our data.
Perfect, thank you.
Excellent response. Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Hi, Tom. Thank you for addressing the succession planning and all of that. Thank you very much. That is something that I am happy to hear about, and especially in your department. It's so important. I do also want to ask about contracts. I know that you have several, but I, again, try to emphasize that we, Board of Commissioners, want to be partners. We look at all of the departments as something that we want to work with. So how can we help you with those contracts other than asking you what they are, when they're due, that kind of stuff, so that we can, even if it's just little reminders, so that we don't run into issues where we have to come back and say to our chairman, we need you to sign this right away because it's ending in 5 days type of thing.
No, that's a great question, and something I think, matter of fact, we had in our notes and probably skipped over. On the emergency management side, we only have one real big professional services contract, and that's for maintenance of the sirens. Okay. So we do go out to bid for that every 5 years. It has been the same. That's a very narrow field, and there aren't a lot. The company that does ours does it all the way to Alaska. Okay. So if we get another bid, they're generally 3 or 4 times as much. But it's important to go out to bid. When we go to conferences, you'll see other vendors with different sirens. We talk to them about that. it's important, there's a reason for those rules, and that's, yes, you get comfortable with a company, but you don't know what you don't know, and there might be other opportunities out there. So we will continue to do that. For safety, this year, frankly, is our best educated guess at a budget. This is the first time having their own independent budget out here. They spend a lot of fees in a couple of areas. One is, you call them sublet repairs. I'll let Mike come up and describe what that is. And the other is safety equipment. These gates are the heavy-duty gates. They're expensive, and they don't like winter and salt very much. So, parts for those things, contracts to get those fixed. But again, making sure that once in a while, there might be something happens, a company goes out of business, we have an emergency. Most of the time, it shouldn't be. We have notice, and we need to make sure that we get those through. Work with purchasing, work with fiscal to make sure we get those to you in a timely manner so that you have time to look at all the data there. The big thing we found is it's important for us to identify potential vendors so that we get the message out to them and encourage them to bid. We did one for our weather service, and frankly, we felt like the vendors didn't bid that we thought should. They didn't understand the bid, so we asked purchasing to pull it. We didn't get the right things, and we were getting costs that were way above what we expected. We were early enough that we could say, let's pull this back, let's redo it and put it out again, because we have enough time to do that and make sure we get accurate and we're paying for what we expect to get, and we're paying a reasonable price for it.
And you just made me remember that we had the tornado siren projects. A lot of those have been completed. So one of the questions I had is, does anything remain unfunded or underfunded, or that you're concerned about that the board needs to know about?
Our challenge area that we were talking about, the Feds announced a grant that we'll be looking at for next year about potentially even, are there new ways to notify the public? Open, but also are there gaps for sirens? Our biggest gap right now, frankly, is the state parks. They don't want to put money into those, and sometimes there's a challenge about even we haven't ever offered to pay for them totally, but they won't partially pay for them. But if we could get a grant, maybe trying to talk the state into letting us, because those are areas where people are less likely. They're at a beach, they're at a place where they may not have a phone. So trying to see if we can find a way, that's one of our gaps that we continue to try to look at and address. How do we get into some of those large wooded areas that we do still have in the county, so we make sure we get information to them.
And another thank you to you. Grants were one of the things that we were concerned about, but it wasn't just federal grants. And I know a lot of the departments are talking about their federal grants, but the majority of the grants, I believe, that the county receives is from the state. Like where we had issues was with the veterans with the state. So when I'm asking about grants, it's not just federal, and you addressed that. And I really wanted to say thank you, because I know in the slides and things that you were given, they said federal, but it should have been just grants, because we have both federal and state, and a lot of the funding that we're carrying over, making up, is under the state, where they're turning them down.
Much of our money is pass-through money. We get it. It's technically a federal grant, but as I mentioned, the EMPG, the state's the one that decides how much of it they're going to give out. So technically it's a federal grant, but the state's the one that's decided to keep most of the funds in that case.
Yes, you put it eloquently. Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Long, do you have any questions? I just want to talk about your new warehouse a little bit. So we were renting a warehouse, I remember when COVID hit, and we had to find one and all of that. But now you have a new one that we own.
Yes.
You want to talk about that a little bit, what the advantage to owning it was and where it is?
The main advantage I'll attribute to finance is the amount of rent that we were paying. Under the contract that we had, we were paying for repairs and some upgrades so that we could use it, even though we didn't own it. So this gives us an opportunity to own a place that is sufficient for now, and unless something really unforeseen happens, will be sufficient for us for a long term into the future. So I would let Brian or Cheryl answer as to how much that savings is. $300,000–400,000 a year in rent and repairs versus what we're paying for, but that's a big advantage. And then we're also going to be able to set up this warehouse so that even in a similar amount of space, we can store more. Because the way we'll be able to set up the rack systems, the height of the ceiling is larger. So the warehouse doesn't have to be a lot bigger for us to actually be able to store and manage about 20% more.
Excellent, okay. And I don't have any other questions.
Yeah.
Going once, going twice, the rest of the commissioners seem satisfied, so I would say thank you very much for coming in today and for your report, and appreciate you being here.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
All right. Yes, I think so. We got a couple of commissioners that got to be on there, so I'd like to get started, I think. Yeah, no, you're right. Okay, we're going to move right into the hearing for information technology. Like I said, we have a couple of commissioners that are going to have to leave in the middle of our presentations, but we'll get as far as we can before they leave. So.
Yes.
Do you think Ken's still recording? Okay, we did not recess, so.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't here looking for me to tell him to start it, so I'm gonna assume we're going. Okay,
All right, ready?
we are ready.
Okay,
Welcome.
all right, thank you. I'm Rod Davenport, CIO for the IT department here at Oakland County. Because IT is very wide-ranging, and we've got, hardware and software and applications for all the systems and cybersecurity, I have an ensemble approach to our presentation. So I can speak to most of this at a high level, but I know sometimes we appreciate the expertise from our deep experts. So I guess I will do some introductions. So this is our newish, I think 6 months on the job. So Jonathan Baugh is our Chief Technology Officer, so he does enterprise architecture and IT strategy. And we got Wolfgang Gorlick, who's our Chief Information Security Officer, trying to keep us safe. Kim Morongo, my gosh, Director of Applications and Client Services. Monty Logan, who's our Director of Infrastructure and Operations, and Tammy Shepard, who is a Business Relationship Manager for elected officials, who I'm sure you all know because Chelsea's Board of Commissioners is elected officials. So I will turn it over to Kim for the first part, and she will walk us through, I guess, a little bit of the meat of the presentation.
Thanks, Rod. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, I'm going to walk us through the information technology slides that are included in today's deck. So the first slide that's here is our fund revenues. You'll notice that the total revenue increase from fiscal year 26 to 27 is 5.7 million, approximately 7%. This total increase is aligned with planned expenses that are driven by both IT personnel compensation changes and then technology costs that are across both the county departments and non-government operations, which we will walk through on slide 6. I think one of the things that may come up as a question is from fiscal year 25 to 26, there was a large shift in that situation. And I just wanted to remind everyone that last year when we came through, we consolidated the telephone communications fund with the IT fund. And so that's part of the reason that we had that shift from 25 to 26 that was larger. Looking at the next slide, this slide summarizes a realignment across revenue categories in the IT fund. So if we start on the right, there's the annual transfers in from the general fund non-department that has been an ongoing practice to cover strategic investments in the county for emerging technology programs. For the last 3 years, that number has been approximately $7.9 million. This year in fiscal year 27, fiscal is distributing those costs across county department operations and non-government operations rather than continuing that transfer in. And so that's why you see that shift from 7.9 down. There is still a little bit of money that's for a specific program that will continue on as usual. Similarly, the expenses that were balanced in fiscal year 26 using the planned use of fund balance have been reviewed. In some cases, there's a reduction of what that planned use of fund is for 27, and then where applicable, we're distributing those costs as well across the department and non-government funds. So this rebalancing is why you see in the categorical analysis that the charge of services, when we get over to the far left, is such a large increase. It's because we're making these shifts with fiscal in order to get everything right-sized. The next section is our expenditures section. So this slide here primarily just ties back to the summary on the revenue slide. So really what I'm going to do is dive into the next slide on slide 6, which has the categories on it. So if we work from left to right, the personnel expenses are increasing approximately $2.7 million. This is driven by compensation changes that have been planned for, as well as last year we moved positions that were previously in the Clemis Fund to the IT fund because those positions supported public safety, which was out of scope for the Clemis Authority. And so those are some of the personnel changes that occurred. And then if we look at the operating expenses, there's approximately a $3 million increase overall. The categorical analysis talked about contractual service increases, professional service increases, and software maintenance. Those are tied to new contracts, new initiatives that we did last year, as well as things that we have planned for this year. And then we've got changes that are in the commodities, communication, depreciation. So that gets us to an overall adjustment of about $3 million in our operating expenses for the organization. There's 33 existing IT professional services contracts that have an end date for fiscal year 27 that we're already working on for this year, and that's part of that picture as well. 19 of those are extendable contracts, 14 are not. We have RFPs in process for 5 of those. Right now, we've got 3 that have come forward on exception requests, and the rest are still going through a market analysis about what the right thing is to do from a strategy perspective. From a personnel perspective, we are going from 173 to 170 positions. The 3 positions that are being released are vacant positions that were part of Clemis that are no longer going to be filled inside of the county.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm sorry. The 3 positions were part of Clemis. They're vacant, and the county is no longer filling those positions. They're no longer needed.
Okay.
And then our budget does not have grants included in the budget, so our slide here is 0. So I'm going to pause there. And is there any questions, or do we want to hold?
Commissioner Long.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad you asked before because then I can look at the slide. So can you remind me, and it might be for Cheryl or Brian, not that you can't, but in 2026, I'm on that fund revenues adopted budget. For fiscal year 2026, we used 20 million of the planned use of fund balance, and that was quite a bit more. Why did we use that much for that year? Can you remind me, someone?
So it was primarily a placeholder. We were going through with Clemis the adjustment of what it looked like to separate out. And so we had the estimated expenses associated with both our new investment, the separation, as well as ongoing operation. And so the balancing that was done was to utilize the planned use of funds. We're not trending towards the full utilization of that 20 for this current year. So some of it is a readjustment of what the expected expenses are. and and then if you look at the 8 million for this year.
Right, I saw it was way down. That's
Right,
why-
so
that's why
it's
it
part of
stuck out
what-
the 20.
Yeah, part of what also goes into that is the depreciation number. So that's a significant part of what's there. And then there's just some things that we fund out of that fund in IT as part of the ongoing expenses rather than billing back to the departments. And that's the
So
8 number.
I'm understanding, a lot of that 20 million was to take out Clemens out of.
Yeah,
out
it
of
was a
the county.
balancing. It was a balancing, yeah.
Balance it. Okay, thank you. I just saw it was a bigger number, and then you're down back to the 8 million, so I just wondered what that entailed. Thank you so much.
Yep.
All right. Anybody have any questions for her? Okay.
Right. So on the strategy side of the house, our goals remain largely the same. So, and most of this just gets back to kind of the nature of what IT is, right? So we want to help the departments to achieve their goals. People need software, and software needs hardware to run, and so that's kind of a focus of ours. We've also been looking for the past several years, and I think we've done a pretty good job, is to try to increase the customer service. So there's a part of IT that is kind of a service provider. There's another part of IT that I think can be useful to kind of lead the target. So typically the business folks are not experts in IT. This is where we come in and can add some value. But to make sure that that's happening, I think we need to have good communication, and we have to have good working relationships with the folks. So we've got our business relationship managers that have been in place now for a few years. I think that's helping us. And we're trying to have more of a, how can we say yes rather than always trying to say no. So we're working on that. And the operational excellence, it's kind of table stakes for IT. People want things to be reliable, they want them to work, they want them to be cost effective, and so we've got that as kind of our third bigger goal. We recently, I think it was a couple of months ago, now that we've got the full team with Jonathan, we redid our KPIs. We've got 5 KPIs that kind of reflect back into these 3 goals. So we've got things like the patching for cybersecurity, the timeliness of that. We have discovery sessions, which is another thing that we've tried to doing with some of our business partners to show the art of the possible with some vendor assistance. So those we're collecting them. I think Henry Outlaw is a bit of a tough grader. He's got it at a 2. I would say we're more like a 4, but the KPIs did change. So we've been making progress. As all things, sometimes the progress is uneven. I think that we're doing better in some areas, and some areas are moving a little slower. But in general, I would say our trajectory is generally positive in IT. So,
Commissioner Taylor.
Just one question. When will IT offer or be able to offer Mac to employees? I had to ask.
No, that's a fair question. So as a technologist at heart, I'm not anti-Mac. I have one at home as well. The challenge that we have here, I guess it's maybe threefold. So from a support perspective, we've been Windows and a little bit of Linux on the server side. So Macs tend to be, end user. We're trying to integrate that into a Windows environment. Can be done. I mean, technically it's fine, but our technical staff would need retraining. I think the bigger barrier to this is though from the application side. So we've got software that runs on Windows. Some of the software, like Microsoft, there's 2 different versions. You can run Office on the Mac as well, but we have some homegrown applications. Not all of them are browser-based. Is it technically possible to run those like in an emulator? Maybe, but we've got to do a lot of testing on that. The cybersecurity tools, we'd have to make sure that those cross over. For the most part, they do, but there might be some edge cases. So I think the answer is it could be done, but it's not a trivial thing. We'd have to be intentional about it, and it would cost time and money and maybe some additional personnel.
Okay. I was just asking.
Yeah, no, it's as with most things in IT, all things are possible, but it's just it's going to take a while and it tends to get expensive.
Okay, so there's nothing that the Board of Commissioners can do until you are more comfortable, I guess?
Well, I think that we would, if we were going to really deep dive into this, I think we'd have to take a look at what the use case is. So what is the gap between what we have and then what you're trying to get? I think most people like Macs because the Windows interface is better. Plus there's Unix underneath it, so it's good for like the power techies. Yes. But just the way that the market has evolved, the typical user they're not trained on that either, right? So if we say, we're gonna offer this more broadly, people might say, well, I'm gonna dip a toe in the water, and then they're gonna ask IT, well, how do I do this and that? And that's gonna spike up our calls and the training and all that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Not impossible, but not easy.
Not easy. Thank you. That's all.
Commissioner Gershenson.
So I got an email that we're going to be changing OGov. And what's the reasoning behind that?
If Commissioner Smith Charles was here, I'm sure she would also weigh in on this. She was excited about that idea as well. So, and in addition to that, for the past couple of years, the federal government has been saying that they want governments to go to a .gov because it helps with it helps a little bit with email security. The main benefit to it is impersonation of the websites. So you have to be a government to get a .gov top-level domain. So if people, a lot of the hackers like to mistype something if it's a .com, and so you would be subject to like false websites with phishing. There's also an idea that people, if they see the .gov, then it increases kind of the trust that either the email that they're getting from someone is legitimate and it's not someone trying to pose that they're a hacker. So I think there's some incremental security gains, and it also helps to align us with from the folks at CISA and the feds that have been encouraging us to move.
And when is that transition going to happen, and how is it going to happen?
So we were migrating our content management server to a different platform, and so the timing kind of came together well. So we've got a vendor that's helping us to move. We're targeting October for the launch. We'd like to kind of do a soft launch first, just to make sure that everything's working properly. The website stuff I think will be fine. The email's a little bit more tricky, so before we have a grand ribbon cutting ceremony, we just want to burn it in a little bit. Yeah.
Right, I'm sure it is the emails that are going to be.
Well, we're going
to require some hand-holding.
We'll keep forwarding the emails and the website for a while so that people, because the paper copies of things need to be updated. People need to have awareness of it. So we'll kind of be running 2 tracks for some time.
And with the loss or movement of Clemis, so that budget, that money that you had budgeted for all that work, how has that been integrated into your whole program?
Yeah, so at the end of our presentation, we have some Clemis slides, but I'll give you a preview of coming attractions for that.
You were done, or everybody else was going to?
Yeah, no, I think we've got radio still. There's a couple more pieces left, but we're going to have to defer to our friends at Fiscal because it's in our budget, but Clemis Authority is its own thing, and so I can't really speak to how all that happens. There's some accounting magic that I think Brent could help walk us through.
So with Clemis in particular, there are some staff that are going to be moving over to the Clemis Authority. They're maintained within the Clemis budget, and how that's going to work is they are going to be invoiced for those staff members because they will be over at the Clemis Authority.
Well, I have a question about that, since we're talking Clemis. So why are we lending people to Clemis rather than having Clemis have their own staff?
So I'll just speak to my understanding of this. But so Clemis does have their own staff. The IT folks that we had in Clemis were given an opportunity to move to the authority. I think that working with HR and the unions, it was decided that people would be able to opt in. So of our folks, I think 4 of them opted in to go become employees of the Clemis Authority. The remaining 6 are going to stay in IT. The 4 that go, so that they can retain their benefits, I think we're charging back. So Clemis has its own people. So I think the new folks that they hired in the CTO, I think are Clemis. The Clemis Authority, they'll have the ability to hire their own people, and then the folks that used to work there that are still going to work on the authority things are going to charge their time and will be paid back for that. That's my understanding. I'm not super deep in that space.
It's complicated, and that doesn't make me comfortable.
It's a little bit. I mean, you could kind of think of it. We have a lot of professional services in IT, so it's sort of the same thing. Someone's working for you, but technically they're getting paid from another source. But
Yeah, I just feel like the separation of Clemis from Oakland County government is the goal longer term, and this feels messy in the middle.
Yes, I agree. It's a little bit messy. I think, if it were just a smaller, less integrated, complicated thing, it would be easier to spin it off, and also because it's public safety, people want to be extra careful.
Right.
So we don't want things to, I mean, not to diminish our .gov move, but, if a website redirects, isn't working, you could easily fix it, but we don't want to break the, public safety aspect of it. So I think it is, the transition will be a little bit complicated.
Okay. Well, we'll ask about this in 6 months again or 9 months again and see where we're at with it, because, like I said, it's messy and that makes me uncomfortable, but you all seem to feel like it's under control, so I'm going to trust you for a while.
Well, from our side, again, I've been working with some of the techie folks from the Clemens Authority, and I think they're doing a good job. It's a heavy lift on their side too, right? So they've got to pick their stuff up out of our environment and put it in the cloud and test, and so it's not trivial. I think our working relationship is good. It's just a lot of work, and I guess the other part that makes it tricky is, as far as I know, the county hasn't done this before, right? So although things like this happen, private companies spin things off, it's new to us. So we're kind of learning a little bit along the way.
Okay. Anybody else with any questions
Miss
about
Angie.
where we're at? Oh, Angie, I'm sorry. Commissioner Powell.
So, looking at that question number 3 on our sheet, Commissioners, is that addressing what you just answered? What you just asked them about Clemens? Number 3. Because there's some other stuff on here, and I just want to make sure that kind of because I don't want to ask the question again, because I kind of understand.
Well, no, go ahead and ask that question.
So, I'm just going to ask this, it may be redundant, but it's an end part that I just want to get addressed. If the Clemens Authority is standing up on its own operation, what county costs should commissioners still expect to see in the IT fund, sheriff office, emergency management, or non-departmental budget after the employee loan and the September grant requests are addressed? And if you can't answer, well, you can table it, but that's the answer.
So I think from an IT fund, what is in the agreement between the county and Clemens today is represented in our 3-year view. What will be hitting the other departments, I think we have to defer to questions for Corp Counsel and Finance, because Corp Counsel is managing those negotiations for the services that will be provided, and IT is not part of that negotiation.
Okay.
I don't know if Brent, you want to add anything?
Sorry, Commissioner, I missed your question. Could you repeat that?
It's really just, if the Clemens Authority is standing up on its own operation, what county costs should commissioners still expect to see in the IT fund, sheriff office, emergency management, or non-departmental budget after the employee loan and the September grant requests are addressed?
Yes, so those should primarily be anything that's charged back to departments for making use of Clemens related to specifically those positions that are staying within Clemens. So those end up getting rebilled back to departments that make use of the software, make use of the system, so that's going to continue. And then, of course, we're recouping the cost of, say, those positions from the Clemens Authority itself when we bill them for those positions. But I know that...
Please make sure you're speaking into the mic.
Yes, thank you.
I can tell you that we've seen some of the invoices for like reimbursement uses Clemens for a lot of their lien stuff. And they've told us that the invoices for the coming year will be the same as they were last year. So they don't anticipate a cost increase on the Clemens services that we would be getting for the sheriff's office reimbursement. And I think there's 8 departments that actually use the Clemens services: animal control, friend of the court, probation, a bunch of the court areas. They all use it, and we've been told those costs will not change from what they were this year to next year.
Okay, and then my next question is, y'all had questions about that, Commissioner? Okay, no. And then my last question is IT able? Now, did anybody answer 6? Commissioners, did any of y'all answer 6?
Yeah.
You did ask that one? Okay, what was said, because I missed it?
Which one was that? Was that the MAC question? The MAC question. So the short version of it is technically possible, but it's not, we can't just flip a switch because we've got software that, in some large part was written for Windows. And to flip that over to the Mac requires testing. Potentially, we'd have to rewrite some of it. The support perspective, we'd have to retrain both of the users and our own staff to be able to help. So it can be done. It's just, it's not a trivial thing.
Okay, so what are we giving them now on our board? Just our regular PCs?
Mhm.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
we is doing, I just thought, I was about to say, no, that's crazy. Why would they change that? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That's all that's all I had to ask.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right.
Thank you, Commissioner. If that's everything on the, on Clemens, or on IT, let's go on to the rest of your presentation.
Okay. Yep. I think,
Oh, they weren't done.
Yeah, we got Monty with the radio.
Thank you.
And good afternoon. So
Good afternoon.
I'm here to talk about the radio fund. As we take a look at the revenue for radio between 26 and 27, you'll see that there's a decrease, and primarily because there's actually a reduction in the planned use of funds. Planned use of funds really becomes a balancing act based on our expenditure. Okay, so there is a reduction of about 100K, and that's based through a board resolution. Okay, I will move to the next slide. And I really just covered the revenue. So within, again, revenue, not a lot of movement this past year. I'll jump to the expenses. And as we look at the expenses, the real big dip in the overall expenditure is we had a reduction in depreciation. So that drives the expenditures down. And that was just offsetting that big reduction in depreciation was an increase in salary and fringe. So within the radio department, or the radio budget, we have that piece. And then we also seen a slight increase in, I'll call it our managed services and contracted services. So within radio, not a lot of activity this year compared to the previous years. The real big swing is the reduction in depreciation because we have assets rolling off. Okay, so I'll pause there, see if there's questions. Radio's pretty straightforward.
So these radios are radios that the police officers,
Yes.
the deputies use?
So radio encompasses the radio towers, the handsets that the first responders use, as well as the devices in the vehicles.
Okay.
Right, so those MDCs, the radio team actually supports those devices in the vehicles as well.
Okay.
Right, so-
And this is just county, it's not the other municipalities too?
So we act as, for the Clemens agencies now, we're going to act as I'll call it a backstop, a level 3 support for those other counties until that agreement that the counties entered into with Clemens ends. Okay, so we're acting as their, I'll call it their secondary level support. Okay, so we start with the outside the county. Those agencies have the initial response to go support their activities. If they get stuck because they don't have the technical competency, they can reach out to us and we'll still support them to make sure that they can continue to use the radios from first responders' perspective.
Okay.
Okay? Other
Commissioner Powell?
When you stated the federal, overall, the federal grants, all that, if y'all get any federal, was that for the entire department? And, okay.
Yes.
So I won't ask the redundant question. No, you're fine. I was just making sure it wasn't separate per what each of y'all get. So if that was the holistic, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's all
so I'll just say for both the federal grants and the personnel, we had one set of slides and we just put them in IT, but it covers everything in the presentation.
Got it, okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Taylor?
I just was going to mention to our commissioners, I didn't ask about contracts because they provided a whole separate slide on all of their contracts, which was awesome. And I could follow those very well. I did want to ask about your succession planning, however, I didn't see anything in there for that, if you don't mind. Because again, your department covers so many things, areas that are all very important.
Very important.
Yes. Yeah, yeah. It weighs on us all. I mean, let's, so from a succession planning, so we've been working with HR. We're starting to do like this talent management plan to kind of assess where people are,
Could you
where they
talk
want
into the mic, please? It's okay to have your back to us.
It's so rude. It's hard for me to do it.
We're sorry.
So yeah, we've been working with HR to start on this talent management process where we get to kind of see where people are, where they want to go in their careers, that sort of thing. We've also, I think we've participated in every single cohort that they've had for Leadership Academy and Emerging Leaders. So we're working to develop the folks internally. We've had some amount of retirement this year. I think we certainly have quite a bit of that on the horizon. I think if you look year to year, we're not hemorrhaging folks yet. So and that's good and bad. I think it's good that we get to retain the kind of the experiential knowledge in IT, but then it's not great for upward mobility for the people either. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. As we kind of move forward, our team has been thinking about what kind of training that we should try to offer people because IT's changing rapidly, and even now more so, I think, than we've seen in the past. So we want to kind of suss out what's more flash in the pan versus what's a lasting trend, and then kind of come up with some general ideas about how we can get the folks to have more development. But
thank you.
One more question. It's a little off topic, but are you all monitoring? I know they said on the news, but the water attacks. How are we handling that with the water department attacking our system or something? I seen it on the news, and I knew y'all was coming, so I said, let me just ask the IT team, what are we doing?
Right. And see, now's a great chance for Wolfgang to talk about this because he and his team have been working with WRC on this, and so I know you got a good update.
Yep, give us a robust update.
And it's good because cyber so rarely gets questions. So we do have, through the budget, through our technology instrumentation, ability to monitor and view traffic coming in and out. We also have a lot of relationships with the FBI, CISA, the state, that gives us information about what to look for. So through our day-to-day operations, we've been monitoring, and the minute the news broke, we were looking at our logs back all the way a year ago to make sure that we are safe and remain safe. We did reach out to the WRC. We had a couple meetings. We exchanged some information. With their approval and invitation, we did a deeper dive on the systems. And again, that completed last night. And at this point in time, with the information we have, the visibility we have, we can say that at this point, we look safe.
Thank you. Good job, Tim.
Okay, anything else?
We just have the fire records and the Clemens slides. I feel like we maybe took that out of order. So unless anybody's got more questions about that, I think we have drawn ourselves to a close.
Okay, great job.
Yeah. Let me just take a
All right.
quick look.
Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, and with that, we will take a 5-minute break.
Is this your phone?
Commissioners, are we ready?
Ready?
Okay. I will call the budget hearings back in order. Yep. It's a little bit tricky because our video guy can't see us without us telling him. So, okay. Next up, we have a budget presentation from the county executive, including our DEI department, our sustainability department, and our Office of Strategic Initiative. And we have Deputy Executive April Lynch here and her team. So if you would introduce yourself and your team, and then the floor is yours.
Sure. Again, April Lynch, Deputy County Executive. I feel like I'm a little bit of the doorman here. I'm just kind of opening the door and letting the other team members come on up here. But this is an interesting budget. This is under our county executive budget, which has a significant number of micro budgets that are in each one of those. So again, as Commissioner Markham has indicated, we have our general administrative costs, our DEI, sustainability, strategic initiatives, performance management, and our compliance officer all in here. And they're all these little, really small but mighty departments that do a lot, but it just, every year we just kind of lump that together. So I'll go over the highlights of the funds and the budget itself, and then I did bring here with me, I have our Chief Diversity Officer, Harry is here. We have our Chief Officer of Strategic Initiatives, Sarah, and our Sustainability Officer here, Julie, as well, to answer any specific questions that you may have. We've seen some, you gave us some ahead of time, but you may have others as well. So I'll call them up as you need, or you can call them up as needed. So again, here when you look at department revenues, budget versus actual, most of us do not have revenue streams as we are internal. We do have one in here, which is Julie is the one that brings in the most grants for her team under sustainability. Sarah's team, even though they bring in grants, is typically to support other departments. So right now what you see here is the adjustment as it relates to a grant that Julie received for the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant. Same thing here as it relates to departmental expenditures, budget versus actual. Again, some of those are variance based on any grants received, but we're pretty static as it relates to personnel and general costs throughout the year. Again, sometimes as we talk about a lot with grants, you just don't know if you're going to get them, when you're going to get them, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's hard to budget, especially Julie's been a great source for finding us a lot of sustainability grants, and I think you'll see in other departments as well, and especially in Health and Human Services, Sarah has done a fantastic job of securing some other funds as well, which she's available to talk on more about that. Let's see. Same thing again with expenditures. I think we're pretty consistent across the board. Again, a lot of us are mostly administrative. Not too much, service or goods or things of that nature, but just the normal administrative costs that you would think that you would need to run a department. Personnel, this is a little bit of misleading. Some of the vacant positions, we actually have 2 under compliance. The compliance officer has recently retired. We have an auditor under compliance, so we are looking at working with the board this next year to figure out the best way we want to manage moving forward with compliance. So those 2 are open, and we'll be back figuring out if we're going to fill those or how we want to best utilize that compliance team. We have a couple of part-timers that are in there as well we have a part-time executive secretary and a part-time summer business intern that we're going to move over to HR's internship program for this next year. So that is in there as well. And then we have 2 of those 7 are recently filled. One, we have an executive assistant that has recently been filled. In fact, her name is Lisa Clark. I think she's here. She just started on Monday. And we have our your manager of sustainability, I think, has also been hired since this budget book, as well as we have a job posting up for the financial coordinator as well. So we actually technically just have really the 2 positions under compliance that we'll need to address and how we want to do that moving forward. Again, we do not, as previous to the last team that was here, we do not have any federal grants within our budget, and therefore our revenues and expenses are at zero. Now we move into more of the strategic planning piece. This is where both DEI and sustainability have a pretty significant and a very well-established strategic plan, so I'm going to let them pop up as it relates to just going over their goals really quick, and I believe there might be some questions in here as it relates to some of these specifics would be a good time. So Harry has the mic in his hand, so I'm going to let him touch base very quickly on his 5-year goals, and if you have any other questions for Harry, I'm sure he's happy to answer them for you.
And I'll make this very quick. And again, if you do have questions, I can address them at this juncture. So you see our 5-year goals here, and they're pretty straightforward, establishing our deliverables and roles and responsibilities. The DEI department literally touches every other department in the county. And so it's important that we understand, have a mutual understanding of what our role is and what the individual department's role is in terms of inviting us to do work or asking us to do work, or whether it be training or any other sorts of services they may need. Goal number 2, adopting and incorporating DEI principles into the organization. So organizational development sorts of things. ERGs are a perfect example of how we are able to kind of build capacity in terms of spreading our DEI culture throughout the organization. We are a department of 3, so we are small and mighty, but that capacity building is necessary for that reason, so that we have some other spaces where we're able to kind of spread that message and create a groundswell for the culture that we're looking to create and maintain in the county. And finally, establish and strengthen community engagement and partnerships. We'll continue to do that through our outward-facing events, our Juneteenth events, our veterans events. All of those things are open to the public and increase our visibility for our department and the county as a whole. And again, kind of putting that culture on display for our citizens to understand what it is we do. And then finally, research, develop, and provide outcomes and best practices. Those things are things that we've been doing since day one, particularly with regard to best practices and staying current on current DEI issues, attending conferences, staying up on journals and things of that nature, being part of local collectives that help us to benchmark what we're doing against other organizations that are part of the same collective, so we can do that in real time. So that's kind of my nutshell. Does anybody have any specific questions?
Commissioners? Commissioner Powell.
So once certain departments move over to Pontiac, events, your events specifically, will you still have the, like you said, the public? And I know there was some cautionary with one of our events. Will we have to still face those same measures now that we'll be downtown Pontiac?
I don't see any reason why we won't still do the events in the same way that we have been. We haven't had any plans on changing any of those processes. We do have our public safety department that is always the first people that we call when we start to put an event together. So unless they tell us that we need to do something different and can give us some background as to why, we'll continue to operate in the ways we have been.
Okay, because that mayor ready to coordinate, so I'm just letting you know.
All right.
All right.
We're ready to do it. And I apologize, that was my phone, so it's just not in my pocket, so sorry about that.
Okay, anybody else for Mr. Weavers? Okay, all right, we can go on then.
Okay, hello, I'm Julie Lyons-Bricker, the Sustainability Officer here at Oakland County, and I appreciate having the opportunity to come before you and talk about our section of the budget. Based on our goals, you can see here that we also have 4 goals, and we are also an office that reaches out into many of the other departments and divisions because of the type of work we do. I'll just go over these quickly and talk a little bit deeper for each of them. So the first one is really about making our reductions in greenhouse gas emissions, and that is coming from Executive Coulter and the Board of Commissioners. We were tasked with getting the county operations to net zero emissions by 2050. And so that really guides a lot of the energy work that we do. And so this goal is a partnership between many of the departments, particularly facilities management, because they are the on-the-ground team that is doing work for our facilities, for our fleet, et cetera. For Goal 2, this gets a little bit into the natural and built environments on our campuses and is referenced in our sustainability plan, thinking about tree planting, thinking about natural-based solutions for stormwater management, and other pieces like that. For Goal 3, we have increased community engagement, and for us that means internal engagement with our people, right, our employees and staff, but also external engagement with the 62 cities, villages, and townships. And in both instances, we're here to help advise, bring resources to the table, partnerships, grant funding to get this work done. And so for the majority of the time that this office has been open, we have been focusing on the internal because it's really important to us to be able to walk the talk and bring resources, like I said, to the CVTs, but also bring lessons learned. So we're doing some of the work first, and then we take it to help others out. I guess one other thing I would say about the internal piece is that last year we were able to create the Sustainability Champion Network, which is populated by staff from different divisions and departments with the idea that they will help us by being liaisons to each of their departments to help us know how to best move initiatives forward, bringing many voices to the table about why something may or may not work and help us do adjustments before we launch programs and projects. Also, the Sustainability Champion Network allows staff to meet with like-minded colleagues and continue to build some of that culture that Harry was talking about, what friendliness and not just coming to work to do the job, but coming to work to really be passionate about your job and passionate about others in the county. And so then goal number 4 is incorporate sustainability into sustainable operations. So we're thinking about procurement and how to get sustainability incorporated into procurement processes. We're thinking about our own energy efficiency and how to reduce costs in our utilities. We're thinking about that stormwater management that I mentioned before to reduce flooding. Partnering up with emergency management to talk about adaptation and resilience. And so it's just another way that we continue to break down silos and work with other departments. So those are our 4 goals. We have several objectives underneath and then even more actions. We are also a small office, small and mighty. And so we look forward to bringing to you a annual sustainability office report. It is in the works right now, and we, like I said, look forward to telling you all of the things that we've accomplished and started and have in progress right now. So I'm happy to take questions also.
Commissioner Gershenson.
Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Ever since this position was created, there was some feedback from the community that was very disappointed. It was strictly Oakland County. So now I hear you're prepared and the department is prepared to go out into the greater community. So I want to know what that looks like.
Okay, sure. So we've started it already, and that is because we have filled our office with a staff for the positions. So now as the chief, I feel that like I have the capacity to start going out into the community. And we have attended Oak Park's State of the City, Southfield State of the City, Novi's State of the City, and West Bloomfield's water beautiful water group or something like that. So anyway, it's getting out to the events that they're holding, so we meet them where they are. And then it's also, in the future, we hope to get with the community-based organizations to help understand how to get to not only reach the cities, villages, and townships as fellow municipal local governments, but also the community members. And so you'll be seeing much more going forward. We have more of our actions in fiscal year 2027 that address those. So thank you for that question.
I think it's a good idea for you to be going out to the communities, introducing yourself. Let's see, I had one more question I just forgot, so I'll come back.
Okay, that sounds good.
Commissioner Powell. I did have one, and it was more in the DEI space. So I'm gonna ask this, but basically I'm just trying to figure out from a funding standpoint, because we know federally they scratched DEI out of their budget of any funding we probably would have got from them. And I just want to know, how are we carrying this department? And in the future, do we feel like there'll be any threats in this department? I just couldn't remember where they're funded from. And I just want to make sure they're secure, because I like a lot of the work that they're doing, and I'm hearing as far as in the different departments. So that's one question. These probably kind of go together, but I'm gonna just answer this too. It's a DEI workshops, meetings, special events, and professional services are reduced or right-sized. What work is actually being scaled back, and what outcomes will show that the county is still advancing equity and inclusion? So that's kind of two questions, but.
I'll answer the second question first. So with regard to right sizing and scaling back, so on and so forth. So the immediate impact will come not in the volume of training that we can provide, but in the way that we provide it. So the immediate way to cover that is when departments receive training from us, then we'll have to charge them in terms of or with the mechanism of chargebacks to those individual departments. In the past, we provided those trainings at our cost, and obviously with some things being right-sized or cut, however you want to phrase it, we won't necessarily have the capacity to do that at the same level. So as we move in real time, we'll be able to have a better handle on what exactly that looks like, but chargebacks will certainly be one of the ways that we kind of cover that gap.
And then just conveying all the trainings and all of that, what type of reporting would, or if it's even gonna happen, for us to know, like, hey, departments was here, this is where we're at in each department, like eventually will y'all roll out a report? If y'all done it or not, I don't know, we do so much here, and I'm just asking, will something like that come just to give us feedback of the transitions in our department, because I know it was needed.
Sure. So the training numbers are tracked very closely. We know who's been to trainings and what trainings and so on and so forth. So those numbers are pretty easy to put my hands on. Other kind of more analytic things or dashboard type things. We had pressed pause on a dashboard when the kind of DEI controversy began, and we had to figure out how to be strategic in moving in that way.
Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And did I answer your first question?
In the first question, I'm just trying to, and it's probably an April question, just from a funding perspective, is we clear? Like, I can't remember
No,
where
it
this
leads
is.
general fund. We know it's important, and I think it.
Okay.
It's general fund, yeah. So we
Okay,
make
so
sure it's
it's
important and have what they need, and I think it was more of just kind of looking at, if he needs more as we go through further, right, we'll look at it. So it's really one of those as needed.
Yep, but it's
If that makes
maintained now.
Yep, it's in
We're
general
good.
fund. Yep,
Okay,
yep,
all right.
yep,
Thank
absolutely.
you, that's all I
Yep.
was wondering.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Taylor.
Thank you. My questions were pretty much answered or either not needed at your department level. I'm not sure, because I was looking more for your succession type planning for your key roles. How do you plan on continuing doing what you're doing? Have you identified your key roles and how you're going to keep them and have the people there training if something should happen to one or more people? Some of the departments are only one or two people, so it's very important to have a way for someone to step in And yesterday I heard some great ideas, and I just wondered if you have thought about that and what kinds of things you have in place for that. Anybody?
Yeah, I mean, I have an answer to that.
Thank you for the question. And it really does make sense to think about it if you're an office of two people. And my hope is that the practices that we're building around philanthropic engagement and partnership building live on no matter what format the office takes or who's in the role. So what I've done over the last 2 years is start to create some documentation on a desk guide that builds out kind of what the key practices of the office look like, how and when we engage across the county, the tools that we use, and the sort of best practices, if you will, that we're building out, so that if I were to step away or my one colleague was to step away, we have a lot of documentation available for whoever steps into the role. And I think that's pretty much what we've done to handle that.
Thank you. And I also know that contracts, in some of your areas, contracts are pretty much, well, they're very important. So again, the board wanted to be able to help be a partner in those contracts, so when they're due and that kinds of things. So could you give us a high level of what kind of contracts you have, when they're due, and what your process is for meeting those deadlines, so that we are not met, or our board of commissioner is not met with last minute signing a contract because it's ending in 10 days or it's already ended and we need to start a new one. How can we help you? And what we would need you to do is identify what those contracts are, first of all, and then the term limits, like if it's 1 year, 3 years, whatever that is, so that we can help you in those areas.
The only contracts we have are with our contract training partners, which we typically take care of well in advance. We've got all the chips kind of in a row. We put out the RFQs, so on and so forth. So we've got a good handle on making sure that all of our deadlines are met when those come around. Fortunately, we don't have, other than our own fiscal year constraints, we don't have a time in which we have to have those contracts out and have them submitted. So,
even your training contracts or anything like that? Okay.
Correct. Thank you.
That would be great. Okay. Then you have in your budget the creation of a new ERP systems director. What specific problems or that you feel this position is intended to solve? And I don't know who could answer that. And how will the board measure your progress in that? Mr. Love.
So under the ERP, I'm gonna call it a guru. This is really the implementation of the Workday system that we're finding is governance, is making sure there are folks that are in all different departments, HR, fiscal, IT, and there's right now in terms of meeting their needs of what they want through the Workday system. However, those individuals weren't sitting together as a cohesive approach in terms of how they were going to utilize the system, the spend of adding modules for things. Like, for example, HR is way far ahead compared to what fiscal is doing, but we all rely on IT to help us get along with the system. So what we are putting together with a person is to make sure that the utilization of the Workday system or anything that plays into the Workday system is efficient, coordinated, and a very efficient use. So that's why that position is being asked to be coordinated.
Okay, so kind of like your planning, project management type of thing.
Correct. That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So all that'll be documented?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, that's a specialized type person as well.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And that person will reside in Deputy Lynch's department.
No, under the county exec, it'll be up through me in terms of we're coordinating, because with that is essentially working with the budget, the actuals, HR. I mean, essentially the coordinator is really driven around what resources are available to be more efficient in terms of a coordinator, project manager. And I'm sorry, and procurement too. Yeah.
Is that it,
Commissioner Taylor. Commissioner Powell.
I have one more question. So with the grants, so you oversee like all grants from every department? Oh, no, okay. No, that's fine, 'cause I was about to say, that's a whole lot of work for one person, like, what is we doing here? And then I was gonna zoom on that, like, wait a minute, buddy, what is we doing? Okay, never mind. But in the same sense, strategic partners and initiatives is expected to pursue grants in collaboration. What major grant opportunities are in the pipeline, if you can share? Ooh.
I brought you a list. Yeah, I got a couple here. So just to touch on your last question. So what I've really been working on is figuring out how to be more proactive about competitive episodic grant seeking. So I'm not really so much involved in our block grants, repeated grants that come down through the state to fund public health, things that that we're sort of routinized. But I'm really trying to build out our episodic competitive grant seeking abilities. And like it's not a routine RFP, like it's not an annual opportunity. Yeah, sorry. Including relationship building with the philanthropic community that allows us to be in more strategic relationships and seek resources that may not be coming through an RFP, but come from, oh, you're working on that, so are we. Let's talk and figure out how to bring a resource that wasn't on the table onto the table. So a little bit living in the in-between in that way. So the couple that I brought to you to talk about are, you all know about the large investment that the Ballmer Group has made in expanding our Oakland Connects team and working in a place-based strategy with our school partners. We are working to expand their investment and continue it into the next couple of years. And we have reason to believe that that will continue to happen. They've asked, this is a little preview, you'll hear more about this, but they have asked us as the county to be a backbone to more collaborative kind of oversight to that work in sort of a collective impact oversight committee. So we will be receiving resources to make that happen, to make sure we're resourced to do that work. And that will bring additional funders to the table where we will hopefully be able to make significant asks to continue to invest in that work. So more to come on that. We're currently working with the Pontiac Funders Collaborative to resource and establish the Pontiac Neighborhood Fund that will do community development work in Pontiac, similar to some of the strategic neighborhood investing that has been done in the city of Detroit. And within that umbrella, there is a goal of pursuing $10 million of investment into the Housing Trust Fund directly for affordable housing investments in the city. So working on ensuring that we're speaking with one voice as a county. There's a lot of county folks involved in that work. And so coordinating our seat at that table. And then another exciting, really early phases conversation that we're having is with the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation about the economic development team's work to build a center of excellence that leverages the Oakland Press Building and our value proposition for next gen automation readiness and all of that. I'm not the economic development guru that we have in the room, but I'm really helping to translate that work and bring it to the philanthropic community as we're ready. So those are three kind of exciting, not RFPs that we're answering, but conversations that we're trying to build and relationships that we're trying to build to bring new resources to the table. And then of course there's, our continued relationship with the Community Foundation for Southeastern Michigan and their new strategic plan that has new grants out that we will be seeking at some point. The Michigan Health Endowment Fund has been friendly to us and we're continuing to seek grants from them. And then, it is a different world that we live in terms of the federal grant landscape, but there still are opportunities. Over the next year, I do expect to see HUD release some interesting affordable housing grants that we may be interested in. And we're currently applying for a couple nutrition-related federal grants through DHHS and USDA to continue our very successful prescription produce programs that we've run, that have run their course, but we're looking to bring in additional resources to start them up again. So that's a couple.
But while you were there, I was just going to ask, you know, that campus-wide energy study, what did that show? Okay, sustainability.
Let's let Marcia ask.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Didn't you have your hand up?
I did, but it was more general,
Oh, okay.
and it was more, when you're looking at at organizations to reach out to, I was gonna remind you of the Senior Advisory Council, to be sure and include the seniors. They are great communicators into our neighborhoods, and we all have them. Just something for you to put on your list.
Okay, great, thank you for that.
Yep.
Okay. And then,
Yeah, we were talking about the campus-wide energy study. What did that show us? And, you know, did it offer any potential savings, or is there anything left
Yes.
sustainability-wise that's unfunded?
Yeah, thank you for that question. This was one of our favorite project studies. We were able to have all of our buildings receive an energy assessment, a level 2. So they really did some deep digging to look at HVAC systems, which is the heating, cooling, lighting systems, and give us a list of priority items for each of the buildings. That said, the study also covered things like renewable energy and where we have room to put renewables on campus. It looked into our electrical capacity at this point for the electrification that will be needed to meet those greenhouse gas emission reduction goals. And so all of those pieces are together, and I'm happy to say that we have created a executive summary draft slide deck, and we will be presenting that to you all in the next few weeks. And so I would say stay tuned. There are a lot of really interesting slides in that deck with charts and some understandings for each of our buildings. They give high level, like the top 5 users of energy, and then, you know, ideas about how to phase out I forgot the last one, the decommissioning the steam plant. Right, some phases for that. And I do just want to say that we also have the bond program that is in play right now. And so those two things, you know, are not, they're talking together, but some of the things in the bond are not in the energy study and vice versa. So there'll be, you know, some working out of how all of that plays out.
Okay.
But stay tuned for the slide deck, it's really cool.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
any other questions from you guys? Let's see if I have anything else. Okay, so in your report, internal services decreased substantially, and especially IT operations in strategic partnerships, administration, and compliance. Are those from completed projects, excuse me, or rate changes, or reduced activity?
Yes, Commissioner. So what that specifically is for is that budget's redone every single year. We did change how we were calculating that allocation as part of the 27 budget development. I'll have to look into the details specifically around how all of that came through for that allocation, and I'll be more than happy to follow up with those details.
Okay, thank you. I think that is all that we have for this group.
Yes.
Unless you have something for us.
That's it.
All right, well, thanks for coming
Thank
in
you.
today.
Thank you.
And with that, we have one more. What time is it? 3 o'clock. We're on schedule.
Yes.
All right, our next group is economic development and airports. And they're here. Laura's giving the queen wave in the back.
We can.
Okay, okay.
Carol's going with she's at that tail end of our presentation. So we can get started.
Thank you. Hi, you doing? Good to see you. Yeah, literally. These are either hot off the press or they were in somebody's car.
They're both. They came in yesterday. Will you be reading?
Laura will
I'll
start.
start.
and I'll follow.
Thank you. But
Just
I'm not
your-
going to click. He's going to click.
There you go down.
I'm,
For
no,
clicking
I'm
and
not
driving.
clicking.
Okay, all right.
I'm not clicking.
Just a reminder to speak into the mic so that our AV can pick it up for the live stream.
You got it. Thank you.
Other section on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's what I write. Notes in. I started in the front, and I've always done budget hearings from the back, and I'm in the same, but they're converging. I only have about 15 pages between them. And after all these years.
Yeah. Wow.
So, economic development, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of us, so we're all here. Which I was happy about, so she should. All right, we are just about ready to start. Are we ready to go over here?
Yes. You want us to start this off?
But you have the clicker, so that makes you the important one. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Hello, hello.
Thank you.
Now that's the program I've been fighting for.
Okay. All right. So I have a family member who's been through this, you know, but that person now has a really good paying job, bought a house in Oak Park last year, you know, and all of this helped. Yeah. Really.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's just one individual, and it's happening all over, so it's awesome.
Are we ready?
We are ready. You're-
Okay.
Dom has the clicker though, so.
I don't need the clicker. I'm
Okay.
just going to start it off. And I think if I look this way, I get almost all of you, yes? My name is Laura Dodd. I'm the new Deputy County Executive for Economic Development and Aviation, and sworn in last Thursday and doing budget presentation on Wednesday. So I'm grateful to have our exceptional team, Dom Holmes, Director of Economic Development, Jennifer Llewellyn, Manager of Workforce, Eli Cooper in charge of transit, and then joining us coming in hot is Cheryl Bush.
She flew in. to
She
be
flew
here.
in. She flew in just now. Coming in is Cheryl, our Director of the Department of Aviation. I will tell you in this budget presentation, I feel like some high-level things that you're going to see. Executive Coulter pointed out a continuation of our Oakland AD program. That's been a signature program for the county executive for many, many years. So a continuation of funding now that the ARPA dollars have been spent you'll find that in the budget. And the other thing we're continuing that you will find in there is the This Rides on Us campaign for veteran services. So we're also continuing our commitment to the small business program at Oakland Thrive. You'll see some of that money in there. And then this year, aviation became its own department. So we're still shaking that out a little bit in the budget process, but it's very much committed to having the best airports around, and Cheryl can share more about that. But we're going to start off with Dom Holmes with the economic development section.
All right. Well, it feels a little weird to have my back to you, so I'll try to kind of
swivel? Standing on the side like this?
The
Okay.
important part is the microphone. Make sure the microphone is close.
All right, so we'll do that. So again, as Laura mentioned, my name is Dom Holmes. I am the Director of Economic Development for Oakland County. And I want to start by thanking our commissioners for all the support you provide throughout the year as we work collectively to provide for the economic mobility and prosperity of our residents. I'll talk a little bit about the finances before providing a very brief overview of some of the functions and activities occurring across divisions in the department, which I think is a nice level set to make sure we're all on the same page about what's happening inside the department. So we'll start again, as I mentioned, with an overview of general fund, general purpose funding before we move into a presentation from move into a presentation from Jennifer, then move into a presentation from Eli, followed by Cheryl. So as we start here with departmental revenues, I just want to mention that in the context of economic development in our department, revenues are tied to grants that we receive as a department, sales of data and maps, different event proceeds, and also sponsorships, which occur throughout the year. As we look at the bar chart, what you'll see on the left side of the chart is a steep increase from fiscal year 2024 to fiscal year 2025. That is explained by a $1.05 million increase in ARPA funding related to our Oakland Thrive work, specifically an invoice from the September 2025 timeframe, and that you'll see that in the subsequent years, those revenue numbers do level off and come back to norm around $465,708 amended. Moving on to the next slide, departmental revenues, adopted budget. What you'll see is on the left column in state grants, you'll notice a grant for approximately $149,000. That grant is tied to proceeds from a grant issued to us by the Michigan Veterans Affairs Association. As a body, I know we've had a lot of conversation about the support we received from the state for our veterans activity. This year, actually less than a week ago, we received notification from that agency that they are going to provide us with a grant totaling $282,563. And so we are working closely with fiscal to work on that change, which will be represented in the budget. We are planning to come before the ED&I committee and talk about that. And the anticipated use of funds, including funds from that grant, will be focused on rent and facilities offsets, as well as investments in advertising to make sure that we continue to make sure veterans know about the services that they are entitled to from Oakland County. All right, as we move on to departmental expenditures, budget versus actual, I'll just point out again that increase tied to ARPA-related funding from fiscal year 24 to 25, and I'll explain a little bit more about the increase in amended funding fiscal year 2026, which goes from $15.6 million to about $17.5. So I want to start in the left column, which is personnel. The personnel growth reflects compensation adjustments, not staff increases. So you'll see a jump from about $9 million to about 9.93. That is predominantly explained by a 3% general increase in salaries for non-represented employees, as well as some increases related to union-related compensation as well. Looking at the total expenses column on the right side of the page, you will see a jump from $13.1 million to approximately $17.5 million from fiscal year 26 to 27. That is explained by a couple new items, including $1.5 million for Oakland Thrive, which is a very important program that Jennifer will talk about. I'm sorry, Oakland 80. You're right, Oakland 80. $1.3 million related to a Thrive carry forward. $2.1 million related to supportive services, which again I'll talk about in a moment, and $300,000 for a social enterprise fund. If you're like me, you're doing quick math, and you're seeing that those numbers total about $5.2 million, which is not quite explain the difference between 17.5 and $13.1 million. You'd be correct in thinking that. There are some partial offsets that drive that difference, and they're related to a one-time carry forward that we received for veteran services in the amount of approximately $242,000 last fiscal year, as well as $487,000 related to professional services for defense and aerospace, $170,000 related to the conclusion of our tourism study, as well as $205,000 related to our customer relationship management tool in its further development, which was in fiscal year 2026. So just wanted to clarify those things. Looking at personnel, you'll see that we are relatively flat. And indeed have a slight decrease in total staff from 81 to 79 projected for fiscal year 2027. And in a later slide, I will provide a more detailed breakdown of where those staff sit across our divisions. Something that many of us have been talking about is the impact of federal grants on our budget. I want to spend a little bit of time just talking about the breakdown of revenues versus expenses. As you can see here, federal grants represent about 18% of the department's revenues, so they comprise a very important part of the work we do. And you can see here that expenses, 15% of our expenditures are derived from federal grants. So also an important area for us there. And these federal grants really do have an impact on our ability to deliver services, not only in workforce development, but in veteran services, in transit, and in many other areas in which we operate. So that is something that we are all closely paying attention to. I know we've had a great partnership with the BOC as well with fiscal services, tracking those changes over time. So something I thought would be helpful was just to kind of level set some of the structure and core functions of our divisions across the department. So what I want to start by doing is talking a little bit about business development. As most of you know, business attraction and investment support are major drivers for the department and certainly for the local economy here. Our team is successful in, bringing in anywhere between $200 and $400 million in foreign direct investment on an annual basis. All of that derived from just $200,000 in budgeted travel and expenses. So a pretty good return on investment there. Retention, expansion, and growth are very important parts of that team as well. We have a team that focuses on meeting directly with companies across the county. They do 500 to 600 visits per year, which is a lot for the team that we have. And they are meeting with businesses to understand their challenges as it relates to finances, workforce training and needs, any type of assistance that we can provide and be a conduit for resources on. And then finances, we administer an SBA 504 program, but we also provide bond financing for deals for nonprofit organizations on a consistent basis, and then generally just acting as a resource concierge for companies and communities across Oakland County. In planning and local business development, we have a Main Street Oakland County team, which is a tremendous program providing support to 30 different communities across Oakland County. They provide strategic and technical assistance for downtowns, things like architectural support services, facade improvement programs, all types of training and resources to help with retailers in those communities that are wanting to do business locally as well as globally. We have a planning and land use component within that division as well, which provides supports to all types of communities that are working through master planning efforts. So we coordinate, we provide recommendations, and we review any master plan that has the potential to impact communities adjacent to the original community, but also any master plans or efforts in planning and land use that impact county-owned properties. In the environment and trails area, we work closely with communities to remediate, properties that have contamination, that have functionally obsolete buildings on them, to bring those properties back into the pipeline for development to create economic activity. And our team has probably 30 to 35 different programs or different, projects under management at any given point in time. Those projects typically last 30 years. In terms of materials management, we partner with the state's Eagle office We work with them on, circular economy, working with our communities as well as our industrial partners to make sure that we divert as much as possible from landfills. And we also have a No-Haz program, which is a regular collection program that is provided to residents of Oakland County to help them with dropping off household hazardous waste, oil, paint, electronics, and so on, diverting those goods from, streams, rivers, and other parcels in the county. We have a very robust strategic plan around trail planning. Our team has done a lot of work to, bring improvements to things like the Clinton River Trail and other parts of the trail systems across the county. And then we also have regular planners gatherings, which provide direct strategic expertise to communities and helping them to understand how to deal with things like ADUs and other, pressing topics in the communities. All right, as it relates to veteran services, many of you know this work very well. We talk a lot about it. We have a team of counselors that works directly with veterans across Oakland County to make sure that they are connected to the benefits that they've earned through service to their country. We do lots of veterans resource fairs and food drives to bring benefits to veterans who might not otherwise be able to, receive all those benefits in one place. And we do a lot of community support and outreach events to support the 50,000 veterans that call Oakland County home. We have what operates more like a central services unit inside the department, which is our external affairs and business intelligence area. They handle all the marketing, communications, strategic partnerships, sponsorships, branding opportunities. They handle our web presence, all of our social media, graphic design, but they also do some very important work as it relates to data and mapping. They provide direct support to communities, first responders, developers, and all other bodies that are looking for support on economic research, looking for survey information, mapping information, or site selection tools, which help those that are interested in making investments in Oakland County find the right place to do so. And then we have a transit division, which we'll talk more about in a moment, so I'll save that piece, and a workforce development division, both of which are doing tremendous work to drive, again, economic prosperity in Oakland County. All right. So just a brief breakdown of, positions across divisions. As you can see here, across the top four: planning, workforce development, business development, and veteran services, we have about 20% fill of staff. We have a smaller contingent in our external affairs and business intelligence area. And then we have an even smaller team, small but mighty team, powering transit and doing tremendous work to manage the millage that was funded by Oakland County residents back in 2022. So with that, I will pass the baton to my colleague, Jennifer Llewellyn.
Thank you, Dom, and good afternoon. Jennifer Llewellyn, Manager of Workforce Development at Oakland County. Would like to first thank the commissioners for your tremendous support of all initiatives through the Workforce Development Division, the Oakland County Michigan Works Agency. It's a pleasure and an honor to work alongside people and leaders who believe in us and our mission to make a difference for Oakland County residents and our businesses. You do have a copy of our hot off the press 2025 Oakland County Michigan Works annual report. Just came in yesterday, so you are some of the first to receive that report, but we're really proud of that report. The theme of 2025 was celebrating resiliency. As you know, our department is about 80% federally funded, and so there were significant challenges over the year, but as expected, our team rose to the occasion and continued to make an impact on residents and businesses across Oakland County. One of the things I'm most proud of in that report is every single photo that's in that report is a real customer, a real staff person, and represents our community. There's no stock photos that are in there, and we're very, very proud of that. As you're aware, County Executive Coulter did include a $1.5 million recommendation in the proposed budget to support our Oakland 80 initiative. And I thought I'd start by level setting with what we were able to achieve with your generous investment of American Rescue Plan dollars. So as you recall, the board was generous enough to invest $4.4 million in our Oakland 80 Career and Education Navigators serving adults. $4.8 million to support our Oakland 80 career and education navigators supporting our youth population, and a very generous and frankly life-changing $9.2 million to support flexible workforce assistance, or what we call supportive services, to our residents to fix cars, cover books when they're enrolled at the community college, save them from eviction, and that has impacted more lives than I can imagine in my 28 years of doing this. So thank you for that very generous investment. Since then, we've also pursued other dollars to supplement that generous investment. We were successful in receiving a $912,000 grant from the MyLeap department at the state in partnership with OCC that we will be able to use through March of 2028 to support the work of the Oakland 80 and Education Navigators. And we did conclude a couple of grants for barrier removal employment success that we received from the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity. Sadly, that initiative has not been refunded in the Michigan legislature, so we were receiving $1 million a year for supportive services that has been unfortunately discontinued. But would like to talk a little bit about the impact. So with that generous $4.4 million investment to serve adults seeking post-secondary education, we have 13 navigators that are employed by contract with our partners at Gesher Human Services. They have delivered 23,550 one-on-one services to 8,420 adults. So this means sitting down with a person and working through how to complete a free application for student financial aid, how to apply for the Michigan Reconnect program, exploring scholarships, discovering what's next for them is a short-term program, long-term program, what is the best match for that individual. They've also made an additional 53,000 connections. And one of my favorite items of success was they have sent 152,000 notifications to Oakland County residents who have applied for Michigan Reconnect. And there's nobody else in Michigan that has done this. We successfully negotiated an agreement with the state to receive the names and cell phone numbers and email addresses of individuals that applied for Reconnect for free community college but have not enrolled. And so our goal is, we know there was interest because they applied at one point. What is holding them back from enrolling in post-secondary education, and how can we help them overcome whatever the reason is that they haven't enrolled? So we're really proud of that additional outreach. The team has also attended over 1,800 community events, and you can see all of the great locations that our navigators are located at, even here at Oakland County with Pretrial and Justice Services, our partners at the community colleges and universities. Our high school navigators have also been an incredible addition in partnership with 20 high schools across the county. We have 19 Oakland 80 career and education navigators embedded in the high schools. They have now offered over 10,000 services to high school students. This effort isn't meant to replace the work of our high school counselors, but to supplement their work. They're trying to keep up with scheduling, mental health issues, attendance issues. There's just not enough time for them to sit down with students and really start to plan what's next for them. And so the intent of these navigators is to supplement that work, help educate them about apprenticeship opportunities, 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees, the military, all of the career options that are available to them. And we're really proud of the reach that we've had across Oakland County. As you can see, Rochester schools, Hazel Park schools, Pontiac schools. We have the presence across the county, and our school district partners are extremely grateful for that work. And then last, with that $9.2 million investment of flexible workforce assistance, we have served 4,400 individuals with repairing cars and purchasing books and saving families from eviction and utility shutoff. We joke with our team that right now we feel like our phone number is written on every wall in Oakland County. we're now reaching a critical point because the dollars are coming to an end, but the demand is still there. And so this is administered through our 6 Oakland County, Michigan Works offices. We're doing everything we can to assist as many folks as we can before September 30th, which is the time frame that we have to spend the rest of these dollars. And you can see the breakdown there on the demand for educational services, transportation, housing, workforce training. And so it's going to be a significant drop-off from the $9.2 million ARPA investment, the $1 million we had of barrier removal funds from the state, and we're asking for $500,000 in the county executive's budget. So there's going to be a big difference between the demand and what we can support moving forward. That concludes my remarks, and it's now my pleasure to introduce my colleague and friend, Eli Cooper.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good afternoon. I'm Eli Cooper, the county's transit manager.
Good afternoon. So Wayne County passed their transit millage, didn't they?
That's now, all 3 counties have no opt-out communities. It's a big day. And so there's a financial information. There's a lot of detail on the slides. I'm going to cover it at a very high level because it's getting late in the afternoon. The revenues have been, as a millage, generally predictable and have increased with property tax and other increases as we see. What you can look at is detail about the amended budget and the adjusted budget and what we actually spent. In a word, we've underspent the millage collected. Not that the funds have gone anywhere, they're protected. The transit millage is a special reserve account, and the funds that are not expended are carried forward for use in the future. There are some ideas of major capital investments that may be needed moving forward. Things like some of our operators may need facilities to maintain or store equipment, and or potential high capacity transit investments made by others, including the SMART and the RTA for bus rapid transit on Woodward, among other projects that have been talked about. So the resources are there. They're earmarked, if you will, for transit because that's what they were collected under and that's what they'll be used for. And this, again, is a lot of detail about what was budgeted versus expended. We have, as a county, supported 5 transit operators through our contractual agreements with them. And they have requested numerous vehicles, additional staff. The millage has sustained all of that. In addition to the Access to Transit program, where the county has advertised, announced, and funded local government partners who have done things like sidewalk improvements, new bus shelters, and planning for future investments in that same area. Departmental expenditures, I think you'll note that in the next slide, our personnel went up during this current year. We have retained the digital communication coordinator and specialist. Part of what we've been trying to do is both get the word out about the effectiveness of the millage, as well as encourage riders to ride. So we brought a communication specialist in to coordinate not only internally to get the county message out, but to work with our local partners, all 5 of the authorities. Seen a dramatic increase in the interest in this area over the 3 years since the millage adopted, and now we're both responding to requests, but also proactively communicating externally about the program and what it has. Budgets versus actuals, again, from a standpoint of budget, we
Eli,
have...
Sorry to interrupt. This is the airport, beginning of the airport.
That's perfect. So again, the transit over the past 3 years, we've worked within budget. There's a growing reserve, and we have seen ridership increase across the board, all 5 operators. At this point, I will introduce Cheryl.
Let me ask real quick. Would you like to do questions for economic development and then we do aviation, or have aviation keep going and we'll do questions at the end? Keep going?
You want to just keep going? Yeah,
All right.
okay, because I know I have some questions for you and...
Well, we won't go anywhere.
Yeah.
by a song.
You make sure that I get back to what is aviation.
It didn't have an aviation cover slide, Cheryl.
Oh, okay.
I know. I think that's, yeah.
Starts at
Right
fund
there.
revenues
There we go. Okay, perfect.
versus actual.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to present the airport business plan for you for 2027 and beyond. And we are thrilled to be a part of this incredible economic development team, and thank you for all the support from the commissioners as we come to you on a pretty regular basis looking for support for the grants and real estate improvements that we concentrate on. The airport is holding steady, very strong, and to steal Dom's term, we're small but mighty, with just approximately 30 employees managing your 3 airports in Oakland County. We're proud of an incredible team that we have that works 24/7, 365 days, and they are one very dedicated, very passionate team that I'm really proud to be a part of. So in the numbers today, you're going to see that there is an overstatement of a cost center that took place in the airport fund when we had the adjustment of the reorganization and the new cost centers. And we had old cost centers from 26 combined with 27, so it overstates our expenses by $636,261. So the slides are going to look a little bit adjusted for that. So even here in the first slide that you see with the budget actuals, that $10,530,755 will be reduced by that 636 for a net of $9,894,000. The airport's operating very steadily with small growth. As you know, that the airport charges for services. We're a proprietary fund, and so those charges for services really fund the operational expenses of the airport. We rely very, very heavily on those grants that you see come through to support the infrastructure and the large amount of investment that we have in runways and taxiways and buildings and whatnot to keep the airport safe and healthy. So our charge for services are up incrementally for 26 into 27, and that's based on contractual obligations with our tenants for incremental increases every 2 years. And we also have instituted some increases in some of our concessionaire fees and whatnot to remain true with the market and try to maintain and recover the costs that we have invested in those areas. So our planned use of fund balance typically covers our depreciation. That's the way that I view it. The charge for services handle the operational expenses. Our expenses for 24 to 25 did increase with an adjustment based on depreciation. If you'll notice in the budget book, there is an adjustment line there of $1.1 million that you're going to see in 27, which is an adjusted treatment of depreciation that we've adopted in this new year. And that's what really increases the expenditures more than anything in the next budget year. Our personnel expenses are a pretty flat line as well. Any increases are associated, again, with salary increases, union contractual obligations. We still have the same team and number of personnel operating the airports. To keep it moving quickly, number of personnel. We are at a total of 32, which is a little bit down from 26, which included some vacancies that we've now eliminated. So we've been able to eliminate some part-time positions that were no longer needed. So these numbers reflect our division actually in February 26. Today, we stand with 2 vacancies and 30 filled positions, not including our seasonal team, which is about another 5 to 7 through the summer months. That team is comprised of a strong group of maintenance and rescue specialists, which are also our firefighters on the field. And we have had a number of retirees in the last 3 years, which was about 30% of our workforce, as they were aging and very senior folks in the team. And we've been able to successfully retain 2 of them as part-time advisors, and then replaced the other 2 with 2 very experienced technical firefighters and maintenance and rescue personnel. And so we have dodged, we thought, what might be a very large bullet with losing that concentration all at one time. But we've been able to manage through that process and have retained some less experienced, but very, very conscientious folks. So we think we're on a really positive path for the future with this team. And the last slide really just represents that there's no funding recognized in our budget at the airport. That's essentially due to the fact that our funds are typically federal and state grants that don't get funded until the project is underway and the costs are accrued. And at that time, the grants are administered by either the federal agencies or state agencies that are applicable to those projects. Try to keep it short and sweet. Unless there's any questions, that's our outlook for 27.
Thank you. We'll start. What? I'm gonna let Commissioner Taylor go first.
Oh, no, I was just really, really quick for Cheryl. Could you just explain to us, in our budget, there was an amount of money due to the way that the federal government, you used to wait until they were completed and then post the dollars, and that made an adjustment in.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. So
could you just speak to that real quick?
Actually, I probably would defer to fiscal services. There's someone here that is Carrie. Would you like to speak to that, or Laura?
Because that changed going forward.
Yes, it did.
So, sure. So, yeah, go ahead, Carrie. No.
Yeah, we need you to use the mic.
So we've changed up the process of how we account for those projects with the airport. Pardon me. Sorry. We changed the process to how we account for those projects with the airport because the state manages those projects. So what we've started to do with the recommendation of the audit vendor, oh, thank you, Raymond. We used to wait until the project was completed, until we got the statement from the state for the final closeout of the project. However, with the advice of Raymond, we are now booking an entry quarterly based on the percentage complete of the project so that we have all of those dollars recognized in the period that they're incurred.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. This is an example of responding to the audit that we just had completed. Several departments had issues and especially around this very issue, reconciling and being up to date on all of that. And so I'm really glad to see that your department has responded to that.
Thank you very much. You'll see that it impacted our assets by about a little over $20 million in the last year. So
correct.
There's a lot of grants out there.
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is a really good fit. I'll just jump in here. Of you having moved to economic development, the airports being moved to the economic development department instead of kind of hanging out there by yourselves I mean, you were in another department, but it fits better here, I feel, so.
Yeah, we essentially were a part of economic development, and now we're a standalone.
Oh.
But I
got that
report to
backwards.
Laura Dodd, who is very experienced and involved in the economic development department, so we work hand in hand.
It just makes more sense because we're talking about using the airports going forward more in that kind of world where they were airports before, but now they're a part of the economic development strategy, which is good.
And I appreciate that.
Okay, Commissioner Powell, followed by Commissioner Gershenson.
Okay, folks. So, I have two questions. I was asked, okay, so give a disclaimer. Dom did not call me about this, but I just thought I'd shoot it and see if we could get some funding. But Dom, can you speak to, because you did a little bit, I know some money now has been kind of moved around based on grants y'all have for Veterans Department. I was asked to see if I could help that department, you know, as much as I could as far as in the marketing space. So, of course, I asked for about $250, but that was like a far ask. And again, Dom did not ask me to do this. This is just me talking to staff.
But I still appreciate it.
So I just also, because I knew in the past too, it was something where that marketing fund, whatever, something else happened. So just tell me, is the marketing covered through another grant, or like where are we at with that?
So we do anticipate spending approximately $80,000 of the $282,000 that we'll receive from the MVAA for marketing and advertising to turn out veterans.
Okay.
That being said, historically, you know, the cost of advertising is pretty expensive, and I think any dollars that we could get to supplement, you know, creating messaging would be helpful.
Okay. All right. So Commissioners, y'all at least heard that, but they got some of it covered. Okay.
Yes.
'Cause, I'm trying to help and find you
Much
some money,
appreciated.
but
Yes, absolutely.
ain't got an answer yet, you know.
Yes.
So okay, so that's that. And then next, one question for you. Given economic uncertainty around manufacturing, interest rates, and trade policies, what new or unfunded idea will you want to discuss with the board to help small businesses and employers before they face layoff or closures?
Well, I think there's probably two answers to this question. I certainly have a response, and I know in speaking with Jennifer, this is something that she's
next.
often.
I got a couple questions for her too.
What's that?
I said y'all gonna tag team.
Okay.
She's coming next.
Yeah,
I got
so we'll
another
do
question for her.
both. You know, I know from my perspective, there's one thing that we do anticipate speaking with the board about eventually, which is the Center of Excellence effort that we've been working on in coordination with the City of Pontiac, the U.S. Center for Advanced Manufacturing, Oakland University, MEDC, and some others. And in that area, the goal for us has been to help businesses navigate the uncertainty, you know, in manufacturing conditions, interest rates, trade policy, rapid technological change, all these different things, right? So we've been building a coalition of partners in private industry, in academia, in government, and we've been working closely together, meeting, you know, monthly for the last 5 months, talking about a strategy to create a countywide network or innovation hub that would be grounded in the city of Pontiac. So one of the things that we envision with that facility would be creating supports for industrial businesses, you know, providing for technology adoption, navigating automation, AI, all the things that we have been known for as a county. So as this rapid change occurs, we're at risk of being displaced as a prosperous county that's done well in all those areas, right? We have specialties in engineering services and manufacturing, robotics integration, and digital technology, and that world is changing. So we need to help our companies navigate that. We do have a report, which is in draft form, which is here, which is the culmination of about 5 or 6 months of work, as well as some funding from a coalition of foundations to help us navigate that, because working families and economic mobility are important to them as they are to us. And so as this is finalized, which I anticipate happening over the next couple weeks, we do plan to come over and, you know, do a presentation on our findings and talk about next steps. But with that, I also want to give the floor to Jennifer to talk about some of the other elements.
Okay.
So one of the things that the workforce system does really well is respond to companies and workers when they've been laid off, right? We have a rapid response team that when a company files a WARN notice or a mass layoff, our rapid response team is immediately activated to go meet with the workers, guide them through unemployment insurance benefits, registration for work, all the incredible services that are available to them. Last year, we had a record number of WARN notices, mass layoffs in Oakland County. We had 25 WARN notices last year. But one thing that I've been passionate about and working with my Michigan Works colleagues across the state is how do we become more innovative on early warning systems? Like how do we get to the businesses before they lay folks off? How do we identify them while they're struggling? And I think this is where not necessarily a new program or funding is needed, but maybe policy changes at the state level. We believe there's an incredible amount of data in the unemployment insurance system. Maybe if a company's laying off one worker, then they're laying off 3, then they're laying off 5. Why isn't that flagged for us or our economic development partners to reach out to the company and say, hey, it looks like you've laid some folks off. Is there something that we can do? There's a great program at the state called WorkShare that if companies have to decrease the hours of their workers and lay them off partially, they can collect a portion of their paycheck and a portion of their unemployment insurance benefits. We think that there's a lot of treasury data that could be used to say, wow, this company's revenues were this and now they're only this. And so we've been encouraging the state for many years now, and especially now with AI, how could they use some of the unemployment insurance data and treasury data to create an early warning flag system so that we can meet with these companies before that. So any help or advocacy at the state level to make that change and development would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, and while you up there, stay right there.
Okay.
I need you to break down our discussion in regards to clean slate. You told me a number you need. I can't remember. I don't want to put a wrong number out there. But just give us the number and explain what that funding will go for. And my colleagues already know how I feel about clean slate, so it ain't nothing to talk about amongst this group right here. So just break that down, because we had some questions when we met, and I text you, but I just want them to hear from your mouth. So.
Sure. So to level set, the Clean Slate Initiative started in 2021. We received an allocation of funding from the state, from the Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity that funded that program for about 1.5 to 2 years. That funding came to a conclusion, but we were still expected to deliver the program. And so we used the barrier removal funding that I referenced earlier. It was $10 million a year from the state legislature that went to the 16 Michigan Works agencies. We used a portion of that allocation to fund our Clean Slate program through this year. That funding was coming to an end, and so we worked with the Michigan Justice Fund to receive a $200,000 grant to maintain the program through this year, but we are coming up on the end of that grant. The barrier removal funds were discontinued by the state legislature, and so we've now found ourselves in a spot where we've exhausted all of our state and foundation resources. We do have funding to maintain the program at this point through early 2027, but to get through fiscal year 27 through September 30th of 2027, we estimate we would need about $300,000, and that would fund our clean slate attorney, our full-time clean slate attorney, our part-time clean slate attorney, the background checks, the fingerprinting, and all of the necessary costs related to the program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So, and then my last question, I got one. Oh.
Use your mic.
Yeah, I just want to clarify that you're saying the bottom line is that the funding for Clean Slate for Oakland County or for the whole state has been cut starting in 2027?
Most of the Michigan Works agencies have discontinued the program because they lost the funding several years ago. Detroit still has an incredible program. I think they just got a federal congressional directed spending request for $600,000 from Congresswoman Tlaib. And I think SEMCA, Michigan Works, that as Wayne and Monroe are still operating their program with some dollars, but everyone else has
Because I know Washtenaw County is still operating theirs, and I was just at an event for people that have been paroled, and they have a vibrant program. I said, really? I think our funding was cut. So why would our funding be cut and theirs was not?
They could have other sources of
sources of
funding,
funding
just
the
like,
money.
Oakland received the Michigan Justice Fund grant, but others may not have received those dollars.
I understand, thank you.
So would this 300 be ongoing though? Like you're requesting it ongoing from us?
The 300,000 would get us through September 30th of 27. So if we wanted to continue the program after that date, additional investment would be needed. Of course, we continue to outreach to the Oakland County Bar Association, other nonprofits. We're trying to find any source of revenue that we
But your
can
total office budget for the year, that's the 300?
to get through the balance of this year. For a full year, it's probably closer to 500,000 because we do have a bit of a balance on our current grants. So to get through fiscal year 27, it would be 300,000.
Okay.
But
And then we
fiscal
gotta
year
go-
28, 29.
Just see how we go
Correct.
with your workings on other funding, and then if y'all need our assistance.
Yes.
Okay, so that's a case-by-case annual approach with us as far as this one. Okay, thank you.
thank
And
you.
then, my last question is the revolving loan fund. What are we doing with that? Because it's not really helping, the way we got it structured now. A lot of people getting turned away, and I've heard some back talks about banks and what they, the underwriting has been an issue. So what is we doing? Because that's a phenomenal program. We know what it's supposed to help, and it ain't doing what we want it to do. So what is the changes we looking to do for that?
So it's two things. The revolving loan program you're talking about has concluded.
Oh, with Seed.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, there is money in that program. We lent out about 700,000? 492. So that money will continue to revolve with seed lending based on the parameters that were set in perpetuity, as long as money is there.
So we ended our program, but Seed can still use it to give funding? And if they can, I don't understand how we still there when they wasn't doing it when it was with us.
So the way the federal guidelines for that program work, there is a revolving period where we have a limited period of time to loan out those funds. All the funds that are successfully loaned out during that period then become part of the revolving portion of the fund, and then we have up to that amount to continue lending out, as Laura mentioned, as long as the funds continue to come back in. So we are still managing a fund of approximately 500,000, about 492. The goal for us now, because of what we learned in that first program, is to adapt the model. We had in that period created a loan program in a grant-rich environment coming out of COVID. So we had a lot of folks that were interested in capital but didn't want to take it in the form of a loan because there were so many grants on the street. And that's why we had a lot less applications for that fund than we expected. Part of what also happened, as you alluded to, is that in some cases the requirements were too stringent. And so we had a lot of folks that, had too strong of a deal, right? They weren't the population that we were trying to serve, right? They had too strong of financials to get the money, or they didn't have what they needed in place to go and get the money. And so that's why we're adapting the model, and Laura's got a model for us to talk about.
Okay.
So really, if you look at that original revolving loan program, Oakland County did $1 million investment, and the federal government did a $3 million investment. The federal portion has gone back, and Oakland County really had about $800,000 left that wasn't invested. And so there's a team of folks from juvenile justice, from all over the county. Barb Hankey's involved, Mediha, Jennifer was involved in doing a study to figure out about social enterprise and social entrepreneurship. They went all over the country learning from models where they're building workforce programs for people who've been in jail. They're building programs with people with developmental disabilities. And they're not just programs where a business does it and people come, but some of them are entrepreneurship programs, because a lot of folks who have a record can't get a bank loan. It's figuring out how do we help them get funding.
Got it.
So what we're looking to do here is pilot a very, very small loan program. So these are going to not be giant loans. They're going to be small loans for somebody who thinks, I'm pretty good at cutting hair. I want to invest a little bit of money in figuring out how to do that and how to get the equipment I need to do that, or any of these number of things. So we're going to take that $300,000. We're going to use a new CDFI, Prosper Us, which has done programs just like this. And this is all to be worked out over the next year, but our goal is to pilot this for a year. Figure out what's the rate of return. Are they repaying their loans? We want to put some wraparound services using some of our partners in the community to make sure we're not just giving loans to people, but we're also providing them with the tools and resources they need to have strong businesses. So, and the wonderful thing I think about this program versus the other program is it is a targeted population. We're looking specifically at people who it's not because they're not bankable, it's because there's some history in their lives that made it. So right now they're not bankable. But if we can get them the strength, the tools, the resources they need, we think that we've got a pretty good chance. And based on the experience that our colleagues have had all over, we've learned what the models are that seem to work a little bit better, and they have to have those wraparound
Yeah,
services.
and I think this program also is helping them to then increase their chances of better banking opportunities or funding opportunities, be it they did well through our program. And I love that we are putting the resources to educate them in the funding world of owning a business, because as a small practice, small business person myself, but also having clients that I do their taxes, it's a lot that they can learn and need to in the financial space. So I think
it's
this is
a
great,
lot.
and I'm excited to hear that we're approaching this, and fingers crossed that it be successful and we go from there. But I know we need to move from the current model. So thank
Yes,
you.
we're moving.
Okay, I'm done, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gershenson.
What a strong team. I'm lucky enough to work with some of you on a regular basis, but I just have to call out Dom because I've known you since you first started, and wow, been a great development story. Moving back over to Eli, who I'm lucky enough to work on transit with, I don't think I have a question. It's more of a statement that I look forward to the day when all communities have all the services we told them they were going to get in the millage. Many communities don't have flex, they don't have appointments, and it bothers me because that's how we sold it. And I also want to shout out to you, Eli, because any questions that come to me, I give your phone number. And you're so knowledgeable in this area, and we are so lucky to have you. I think, Dom, was it you that mentioned recycling in communities?
Yes.
Yeah. So not every community, myself, I don't have the ability to do anything but curbside. And I want to recycle all those items that people that belong to SACRA that live in the, and I can't. And I can't come to our drop off either. I'm not allowed because of where I live. So I think that's something that I would really like to see, where everybody has the ability to recycle everything. Yeah.
Talk about the master plan.
Yes. MMP?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do have we have been the recipient of a grant, the Materials Management Planning Grant. As I mentioned, in coordination with Eagle, our team does, I should say, and our planning manager, Khalil, sitting in the back there, he snuck in. His team does a fantastic job of mapping the resources available across communities, so we know who's using haulers as opposed to who's using SACRA or other programs to move waste and recyclables. One of the things that we're doing as part of that planning process with a consultant that's been provided for by the grant is trying to identify ways to make sure every community is mapped to one or the other, one service or another. That planning process has been underway for the better part of a year, if not more, and it will continue, but that is one of the things that the team is very concerned about trying to enact and trying to make sure that circular economy is a real thing in Oakland County.
Good to know, because I have bags of styrofoam I have to give to my friends that can recycle styrofoam because I can't.
Yeah, and I think one of the other fascinating things is that funding also provides for outreach and education. So one of the things that I know we're planning to do is educate young people. We had a young person in our office the other day that wrote an article and was, awarded some accolades for doing work in recycling, research. One of the things that we are hoping to do over time is create campaigns that educate young people on how to move waste through this cycle. But to your point, we have to create the infrastructure where it's not right now.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anything else from you guys?
My general, yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I just have general questions that I ask each department, and that's on your succession planning. How do you go about the most, have you identified your key positions? And then what are you doing to ensure that if that position, the person or anybody leaves, that position can still, the county can still function?
I think that we are all demonstrations of succession planning. Cheryl is the succession plan for an aviation leader who was there for decades. Dom and Jennifer. Jennifer is the product of great succession. She had a wonderful leader in the department. Jennifer had been working in the department and came along and now has been serving. And I think if Jennifer were to go, I would imagine Jennifer knows in her department who those key leaders are. I just was part of this with Sean, and I think Dom and I have talked about this. We have great benefits at the county. We're a great place to work, and sometimes because we're so great, we don't see the movement with staff that we expect to see, which means we have people waiting, trained and waiting to come up. And one of the things we're actually working on is how do we help with some of the municipalities who don't have a farm team? How do we help make sure that our team also has opportunities out in other organizations? Because what a better compliment for us to train somebody and then have them be leading Troy's economic development department or somebody else's economic development department who was brought up here in Oakland County and knows their stuff. The other thing that we're working on, and Dom really gets a lot of credit for this, is an economic development training program that we're doing to level set in our department, because we've brought people in from all over the place with a variety of expertise. And we want to make sure that that 101 economic development knowledge is there for them, and we're also inviting communities in to participate in this training. When I was at a site selector meeting just maybe about a month ago, one of the things they said is the work in the communities is changing because they need to understand what their communities will tolerate and are interested in as it relates to economic development projects. And we see that all over the county right now, where an economic developer says, sure, this seems like a great project for our community. They come in and the community says, no, we don't want this project. So we're working on building that so that succession and that knowledge base exists outside of just our immediate staff, but into the community.
Excellent. Yeah. And lastly, on contracts, I know your department has lots of contracts.
We do.
So is there a way, I mean, I know that you're probably on top of them, but how can we as the Board of Commissioners help you in any way? Or what tools could you give to us so that we could help you by telling us what contracts you have, when they're becoming, if they're like 1 year, 3 year?
Yeah.
How can we get that kind of information from you so that we can be of help to you as a reminder or whatever? We could even offer different contract vendors and things of that nature.
So I see Alicia sitting back there, and I will say over the last 3 months, we have really changed the way we work with procurement. We have 2 procurement people sitting on our floor, and we're having regular touch points, regular meetings. We're inviting them to our stuff, just like we are with our HR business partner and some of these other business partners that exist out there. So they're at least on a weekly, if not bi-weekly, process part of our team and able to deliver that. They keep the lists. They know when things are coming up. It's just a matter of having a good regular cadence. And I think it's there. The thing that we have struggled with, I don't want to say struggled with, our challenge has been when we're in a contract over multiple years, making sure we budget for it properly. So we come to you, we bring an idea like the economic development training program, and I think taking a minute in those meetings and saying, is this actually a one-year project? Or knowing the amount of time it takes to get through procurement and do a good RFP, select, move through, give them the scope, have them, maybe this should be a 2 or 3 year contract. I think helping us slow down a little bit and really spread it out over time so it's not a carry forward situation. It's a, we knew this was going to take a couple years because we worked together on it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Commissioner Taylor has asked this question of all the groups, and I think it's, what we have seen is this is an issue across the county. Almost every finance committee meeting, we have 2, 3, 4 contract exceptions, had to be signed last week because the deadline's up. I think that's really what you're trying to get at is we want all the departments to be more visible as to their grants earlier. And we did talk to fiscal about this a little bit in somebody else's budget hearing this morning, but that's a theme for us. So many times we see stuff coming to finance late or after it was due, and we have the chair sign it to move it along, but we'd really rather have a good, solid, normal cadence to everything.
I would say the one other thing that we just experienced this week with our veterans grant, it's the state of Michigan getting it to us and giving us a turnaround of 3 weeks.
Right.
And luckily there's
that happens.
But the state of Michigan this time said to us, we understand that you have a meeting cadence. And so we're going to work with you on that, which I thought that was pretty good news. And it was also fortunate that tomorrow there's an EDI meeting, so we can bring on the information. I think the thing that can be hard is the 2 week, getting you stuff 2 weeks in advance. I think sometimes we get a little scared off to do last minute stuff, but it seems like you would prefer for us to sneak something onto the agenda last minute if we get it last minute rather than do the exceptions.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would want to talk to staff about that before we said
sure. But we'll try at least.
Yeah, they're the ones that have to make this work. And I think the general idea is the more normal the process, the better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Commissioner Powell.
I just had one. Oh, was you done with what you said?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I just had one other thing that, again, I was not asked by Dom. I was just asked, and my commissioners know I just asked. But it was 200, I think 200 or 250 grand for Main Street Pontiac. But I just want to let this team know that may be a pause request. So I was just letting you know, Dom, you didn't ask me, it was asked.
Okay.
And I'm just going on record, so the people who asked or talked to me about it just know that, yeah, I've asked, but it's a pause on that request. That's all I'm saying for right now, okay? That's all right. I don't need no response, I'm just letting you know.
All right.
Okay? And I do understand that they're looking for this to tie in somehow with the Pontiac project, so it's just more further review with our fiscal experts in something like that, but at that time, Dom, I'm not gonna waste your time, I'll bring you in when we need to, okay? For Main Street requests.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Oh, Dom and Laura now, since, y'all,
Yeah.
but I just wanna put it on y'all radar.
It's good.
But it's at a pause right now.
I forgot to mention something too. You mentioned Pontiac. When we talked about the revolving loan fund, Megan Sellers, I have to mention that a big part of this is Megan has been on this team with us to make sure that when we look at the justice impacted adult community in Pontiac and our desire to bring Pontiac along with us in the projects we have there, that's another big reason for this revolving loan fund, is 40% of the adult population in Pontiac's justice involved. We want to make sure that they have the capacity to have a seat at the table, and Megan has been a big part of that, and I feel bad that I didn't say anything about it. So
you're good.
brought it along.
I'm pretty been in conversations with Megan and Dom about seed, so I'm just happy to see this transition going. Thank you both. You three, thank you.
May I add one thing I did forget to mention during my remarks? As I indicated, we currently have 19 Oakland 80 career and education navigators in the high school, and we have 13 serving the adults. Just to be clear, we would not be able to maintain that level with this $1 million investment. So I did want to outline that will drop down based on our estimates to about 16 full-time navigators. So if you're working with your local high schools and they're like, we used to have someone and now we don't anymore. We used to have an adult navigator in our nonprofit organization and we don't anymore. What happened? It's because obviously that drop off from $20 million to $1 million is very real. But we believe that with these 16 navigators, we can still make a powerful difference. So wanted to highlight that.
Well, you've been very, very in notifying us as we asked you, especially when we knew federal and state cuts were starting to happen. So thank you for just keeping us to our word, and I think our commissioners just hearing around and seeing what we can do, and thanks to our fiscal team too, because we knew that your department is one that's getting hit the heaviest of all our departments here. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of comments about transit. I want to reinforce what Commissioner Gershenson said, because I represent a couple of communities that are adjacent to areas that are covered by Oakland Transit, but they're not. Like the city of Northville, Oakland County portion, all those residents are paying this millage, but there's no, except SMART just passed, into Northville yesterday, but there's no means by which those folks can take advantage of door-to-door kinds of service. And then there's other areas. I have another constituent who lives in Farmington Hills, but wants to come to Novi to the hospital. And People's Express in Novi doesn't serve them, and Smart Flex doesn't take them into Novi. And so they don't have the door-to-door. And that's just two examples, and I'm hoping we're filling those gaps.
They do, and maybe what I'll share is information that will help all folks that are listening in. So with regard to that north section of Northville, that's actually in Oakland County, because it's a small sliver of that community, we are not working with them directly because they're primarily in Wayne County, but People's Express has all of the geocoded information. If somebody in that part of the community calls People's Express for a ride, they will get service. So they do have service. If they were to call me, I believe they do, but I'm going to mention that back to our communications folks and to People's Express to make sure that they're aware. With regard to the person in Farmington Hills who wants to come to Novi, SMART has Flex, which is limited to that geographic area.
Right.
They also have general paratransit, ADA, and fixed route service. Any individual should contact a SMART customer service number, and they will align them with a service provider. Now, some of the trips are limited, so the SMART general paratransit is limited to 10 miles. They're under the same agreement with us that they should then coordinate with People's Express and make a transfer. So if somebody wanted to go to South Lyon from Farmington, that trip is doable. It's a question of they need to reach the right department within SMART. We'll do more coordination with our providers to make sure that they and with the community and local governments know how to take advantage of the services. But we do, for the most part, I'm not going to guarantee 100%, but we have delivered services countywide with connections for all folks. What happens more frequently than not is people want that direct ride. And we're working with SMART to procure, or they've just procured regional software that will make that more seamless for the rider. But until we break down the barriers of the geographic service areas, there may be transfers required, but it should be seamless to the rider.
Yeah, I think the communication to the individuals in the communities of what's available to them and how to use it is still a big hole.
Goes back to the we just brought somebody on board, and that's something that, as a result of this conversation, will be ramped up.
Awesome, thank you.
And Southfield doesn't have it either. The Flex and all that, They do not, because I called to utilize that, and they told me that Southfield was not covered.
That's correct. SMART initiated Flex about 3 years ago as a demonstration program.
Okay.
And it was in Troy, Pontiac, and Farmington Hills.
Okay.
Through their Smart Mobility Program planning project, they are expanding it to greater areas. They're looking at early 2027 to the Rochester Hills.
Okay.
Rochester area with OPC, one of our providers, actually delivering the service, not VIA, who's a contract provider. So it's expanding. It's just taking its time because there are different service models that need to be developed that may be more cost efficient for the service providers.
So stay tuned. Okay.
The ridership has improved basically every month since the millage.
Yeah, we have just sent to the printer a 2025 annual report, and because it's our third annual report, we've actually gone back in time to the beginning, and so all that information will be to you electronically within the next day or so, and we should have hard copies beginning of next week.
Okay, that's excellent. Yeah, because we did send out, Oakland County sent out something, especially to seniors, you know, there's transit for everybody. And then we're getting the individual calls where the person says, I tried to use it, but I can't. So, you know, it's not perfect yet, and I understand that, but I only raise it because I want it to be
So if you look
on
at
your radar.
if you look at the Oakland County Transit website, it's my desk phone, and I'll say the same to all the commissioners.
You're great.
Please, if you get any calls, forward them to me,
Okay.
because there really are more options out there, but you've got to really live with it on a day-to-day basis to know the nuances.
Right, right, and that's complicated for, you know, senior citizens who want to get from A to B and all that,
Complicated
so-
for all
All of
ages.
us, right, right. And you would be an example of somebody, I think, that we need a good succession plan for, you know, because we're not done.
It was just my birthday, thank you.
Mine too, mine too. But, you know, we're not done yet. And you aren't probably going to be part of Oakland County long term, okay? So, but your position, it's a growing thing, right? And so succession planning is important.
Agree.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, this has been very interesting. Commissioner Powell. Yeah, I have given out your phone number a few times. Yes, and, yeah, and I want you to understand, we're very happy with what you've done so far, so growth is good. All right, any other comments or questions for this group?
No, thank you.
Going once, going twice, I don't see it, so I am going to call this hearing of economic development finished. And go back to my main agenda here. Yeah, there it is. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, really interesting and fun department. This is
an eavesdropper and a note taker. And I think that was kind of rude and even contradictory for someone that should encourage transparency and accountability. The big thing that I was looking at, contracts, there's 33 contracts in IT. They said 19 of them are extendable, but they didn't go into description about how long they've had that contract and when they should be going through an RFP process. 14 of them, 5 of them are in the RFPs, 3 of them are exception to the policy, so they already know that it's exception to the policy. I don't think I've been through one finance meeting that there hasn't been exception to the policy. In fact, I think I counted close to 15 of them in one finance. That means 6 of them right now are out still in the wind. They don't know if they're going through RFP, if they're going to be through exception to the policy. This really brings something that should be uncomfortable for everybody. The audit that was just given by Roman is fantastic. It's brilliant. They were very professional, but there's some very concerning and very uncomfortable statements that were brought through it. I don't think a lot of the commissioners even read it. I did. I studied it. You guys are in trouble. Without written policies, without written procedures, something documented, you're not going to hold anybody accountable. You can have all the goalposts you want. Those can be moved. When a company externally from Oakland County comes in and says, listen, you guys need written policy, I really don't understand where that came from, because there should have been written policy already. When you have written policy, rules, policies, and procedures, you have consistent delivery on results. There isn't questions. There isn't, hey, we got to reconcile. They actually are, you're forced to track, record, reconcile the liabilities. You're forced to do it. In the RFP process, that's forced to make you guys go through every single step to say, hey, is this going to be a 2-year project or is this going to be a 1-year project? Is it going to be a 3-year project? How do we need to do this money? That's what an RFP process is about. Bidding things out, but filling out the documents because all of those questions are asked. I mean, I found an RFP or request that didn't even have a date on it. That's the first box up in the left-hand corner. You guys, this is Oakland County. It's $1.3 billion. And for you guys not to be fiscally responsible and have to have 10 revisions of numbers for CFO accounts in 2.5 months, that's a problem. You guys failed that audit. I don't think it was structurally sound at all. And you guys need to find places where it needs to be fixed. Thank you for your time. 5 Zoom hearings, crafted by Judge Luce Langton. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gupta. Is there any other business to come before this group today? If not, I will call this meeting adjourned, and I'll see everybody tomorrow at 1 o'clock.